What up, Claytriots? It's your boy, Technically Clay, streaming at you from cloudy St. Louis, Missouri. How's everybody doing out there? I'm doing good. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling so refreshed. Since the last time you saw me, let's see, on Memorial Day, I went to a shopping thing, like an antique sort of like they had a bunch of like antiques and various other stuff to buy. My wife got a sick trash can that we got complimented on like 5 times as we were leaving. It had like mushrooms and stuff on it. People were very impressed with it and the deal that we apparently got for it. So that was cool. I also accidentally haggled my beer that was $6 down to $3 because they had a thing where it said it was $5 if you pay with cash. So then I offered to pay in cash, and then they were like, oh, we can't change the 20, and then they just ran it through as a water instead. So I was like, hey, I'll take it. But yeah, then let's see, after that, I think it was just more of the usual stuff like video games and like TV shows. We've been taking a break from Stargate. I've been watching a lot of YouTube lately as well. And then Tuesday, I had to go back to work, unfortunately. And I'm going to be honest, that was why I didn't stream yesterday. I don't know if other people out there get this like post-vacation blues sort of thing when you get back into work, but it's like, I was like barely hanging on. I was almost like, man, I should have just taken another day off. Although I know that if I do that, then that's really just delaying the inevitable. So you just got to power through that first day, I guess. But I was just really not feeling up to streaming yesterday, so I didn't. So I just played Slay the Spire, watched some like YouTube content for the most part, and then went to bed, woke up, went to work. Today's work felt a lot better. I mean, honestly, I think now once I get into a rhythm, obviously like work isn't that bad, but it's just that coming back after a long vacation or a long like time off is just so terrible. But anyway, so yeah, so I worked today. I did work out. I did upper body. I'm planning on just doing lower body tomorrow. And then Friday I am going to be driving up to Chicago for a friend's birthday party. So I'm not going to be streaming, obviously, when I'm in Chicago. I'm, you know, I don't have a whole kit for streaming out of state. I might end up trying like posting more just like pictures of like the stuff that I'm doing, maybe like while I'm there or something, maybe post some pictures up on here. Maybe I'll try doing more other social medias, even though, you know, I don't really like doing the whole social media game that much. I really just enjoy like the main thing I enjoy doing is just the streaming stuff. I do enjoy putting up like, you know, my analysis of like politics and stuff, and then also like playing video games and whatnot. Like I actually enjoy doing that part. I don't really enjoy doing all of the other bullshit that comes along with trying to like build a social media in terms of like I don't know, like posting all the time or like posting on other platforms. I'm going live, like all that sort of stuff. Like maybe someday I'll get into that. But right now it's just not something that really excites me at all. So, and really this is just a hobby for me. I'm just doing this for fun. So it's like, whatever, you know. Okay, well then let's see, I finished off the work day. I had some leftovers. I made some white person tacos last night. I love white people tacos. Just meat, the seasoning, little packet of seasoning, and lettuce, tomato, and the Mexican style cheese from like pre-shredded cheese. I think it's all, I don't know. I honestly think it's incredible. Obviously, I like real tacos too. Like, don't get me wrong. I like, you know, Mexican style street tacos and stuff. But I think there is something about just that classic, like old El Paso taste or whatever that I also like a lot. So don't come for white people tacos. I'll have a fight with you. Anyway, and then I came right here to be with you, the viewer. Hello. Yeah, so today we're going to be going over news of the day, just the classic Technically Clay experience. I hope you're excited because we got a lot. We got a lot of stuff to get through. I might not get through all of it. I'm going to do my best though. Okay, people. I'm going to do my best to keep things moving and to not blather on for hours and hours, pausing every 5 seconds like I always do. But I'm not making any promises. Anyway, I'm drinking another Fitz's root beer. I bought the wrong pack at Costco like a month ago, and so now I'm cursed to drink only Fitz's root beers from now on. Okay, let's go ahead and get right into it. So we're gonna start with Fox News. This is from an hour ago. We're going back to Iran, and we're going to learn more about the situation over there. So the last time that we talked, let's see. Iran, I was thinking like this was the best chance yet that we had for an actual deal, like a deal to end the conflict or something. That hope was probably a little bit misplaced. I did say throughout, I said there's a possibility that this could be a classic Trump pump fake. He's going to, just go right in and start bombing again. And it looks like that's what we got. I will say, I do think it was the closest we've gotten so far before this latest round of bombing that seems to have taken place. But I do think that he was probably he got the boss call from, various like Zionist mega donors, Epstein affiliates, whatever, right? Who all said, or from Israel themselves, who said, yeah, we got pictures of you. You better not do this shit. Like, I think something influenced him to like back off. But I will say that the reason that I thought it was the most likely so far to be one that actually succeeds was because of how mad it was making everybody, all of the neocons, how mad it was making the Israelis. That was what made me think, okay, this one might actually have a chance. But it looks like at this point though. So yesterday, I think America bombed okay. My understanding is that America bombed a ship, like a ship that they claim was laying mines. I think Iran disputes that and says that they were just, fishermen or whatever. And judging by America's track record of, blowing up fishermen ships, I'm more inclined to believe Iran. But yeah, and so then Iran retaliated by firing on them. Then America retaliated against the retaliation by launching some drones, I think, to go to hit like the missile sites where Iran was shooting from. And then Iran, I guess, like took down a drone and I think like locked onto an F-35, which I think is the second time that they've done that so far. Which, if you're unaware, the entire premise of the F-35 is that it's supposed to be impossible to lock onto. So just another blow for that $1 trillion project of America's. So anyway, let's go ahead and watch what Fox News is going to say here. This is actually do I want to start with this one? Yeah, let's just start with this one. So this is going to be about Trump's. I'm assuming they're going to talk about a little bit more of it, but than just what the title says. But I also know that Trump has recently decided that he's trying to tack on other concessions as well, including trying to get all of the Gulf states to agree to the Abraham Accords. Which, my God, man, you're not reading the room. Let's go ahead and watch this video from Fox News and let's see what's going on.
And a big morning at the White House. President Trump will convene his cabinet.
Nope. I'm not falling for it. Not again. We're going back to normal 1.0 speed.
And a big morning at the White House. President Trump will convene his cabinet at 11 a.m. Eastern. Negotiations with Iran are set to dominate the discussion. And Brian Hook, former U.S. Special Representative for Iran, is here. Here's a headline from the New York Times. Iran begins lifting months-long internet blackout, officials say. First of all, is that true?
Yeah, it does seem that Iran has restored the internet. It's been off for 3 months. Imagine, like in the U.S. economy, if the internet were turned off for 3 months.
Well, they don't understand this stuff at all. And so Iran does shut off the internet typically during times when the government needs more control over their population. That is true. America hasn't ever, in a long time at least, hasn't been in a circumstance where it needed to exert as much control over its population. But and it was probably the last time I would be saying like would be like the McCarthyite sort of stuff or whatever during Vietnam. But they didn't they didn't have the internet really back then. So we probably I don't know exactly how America would do what America would do under that particular circumstance if we were in a situation like that. But Iran does turn off the internet in order to they claim it's for security reasons and stuff, but I also think it is to in some ways limit communication with the outside world like by the government. It also, like, the reason I say it's somewhat legit is because America and Israel use internet operations in order to try to affect the public and to try to, usually try to manipulate people into going out and engaging in coup attempts or whatever, like that sort of stuff, trying to manufacture things like that inside of the government. So that's like I'd say the legit reason that they would do this. But I also want to be clear though that it's not like the internet is just gone. They have an internal internet as well that they use inside of Iran in order to, for things like banks and like the important services that need to be up or whatever are still going to be up inside of Iran. They just cut off communication with the outside world. It's very similar if you understand China's walled garden approach to the internet, where they have almost their own internet on the inside and they control what is allowed in and out from sources outside of their internet. And so it's very similar to that. So that's a brief rundown on how the internet outage sort of situation works in Iran. It's not like the internet is just completely gone. They just switch over to their internal internet.
So that's a huge economic cost on the regime on top of the economic crisis it's already facing.
We saw a report within the last 12 hours that the internet is just like, if you're full go, you're full go, the graph's up here, but it's really right down here so far.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that it has to be affecting them economically. If you're a shop owner.
Dude, why do that? Oh my God, man. This is... It's not that important. Look, I'm telling you, the economy stuff is always a red herring because this is no different. The economic impact of the internet being out is like probably minuscule compared to the economic impact of like the blockade. And even the blockade, I've told you before, they can live with that indefinitely. It's no different than an escalation of the sanctions regime. And they've lived with their sanction regime for like the sanctions that we have imposed on them for 20 or 30 years. The internet is nothing. This access to the outside world for internet, I'm sure some businesses, I'm sure there are some tech businesses or something inside of Iran that are suffering from that, right? But that they're in war. They're at war. I think that they can deal with that, while they figure out the whole wartime situation.
In Tehran, how do you do business when the internet's out?
Well, all those businesses are closing because if you don't have access to the internet in today's digital age, you have no business to run. And so I think there's been 1 million people who are now out of work because of the internet being shut down. And then also the naval blockade is having a huge consequence.
So are the people pressuring the regime in order?
It's not gonna do anything, man. It's not gonna do anything. These people, they will be largely fine if they will have support systems. The government, I guarantee you, has support systems for people who are feeling the impact of this war. The government can manipulate their currency. The government can do lots of things. The government can take money that they may have stockpiled from crypto or something back in the day, and they can strategically release it to help these people get the necessities they need in order to survive. People aren't going to be destitute, dying on the street because the internet is out. That's a ridiculous assumption.
In order to come to the table to make a deal, and is this memorandum of understanding going to lead us to a place where the straits reopened and they can make some commitments that we can trust?
Well, on the first question, back in January, you had 5 million people protest. Mm-hmm. And the regime killed about 42,000 people, which is 4 times the number of people that China killed in Tiananmen Square. So it was a big crisis. Then you had...
I've talked about it a million times. They're just lying about the number. They're lying about the number. Give me the names. Give me all 40,000 names, and then I'll believe you. They haven't given us the 40,000 names, so I don't believe them. Iran has provided the names of all of the people that they know were killed on that day. And they have also asked America to give them all of the names of all the other people that they're claiming are dead. And America has refused to do so. That's why I don't believe it.
Now you've had almost 2 months of war and a ceasefire. The Iranian people seem to be staying home. But the regime is worried about the people coming back on the street and then putting pressure on the regime that might then possibly, if it were to, cascade and spiral, could bring...
This is just a funny juxtaposition right here, because this is what you're seeing right here. If you're watching this, like if you're not doing audio only and you're watching this, is that you see a guy trying to claim that all of the people in Iran are ready to overthrow the government any day right now. And if you look directly behind him on the video that they're showing on screen, it is quite literally a graffiti on the side of a wall saying "Down with the USA" with a American flag and then Khomeini like stenciled graffiti on it. It's like you couldn't embody how disconnected these people's analysis are from the reality on the ground if you wanted to. This is a perfect juxtaposition. This is what I try to talk about all the time, is why you can never take these people seriously, because they never, ever, ever actually look at the material conditions on the ground, and they never come to any conclusion other than what they think will be beneficial from like a State Department talking point. You need to use your brain, people. You need to use your brain. And this is just a hilarious picture that they have right here.
The regime into a survival mode. And so that's sort of the first question. I think on this MOU, I think of it as an interim step to get to a broader deal. Right now, if you could have an MOU that would...
Look at this, man. Look at this, this piece on the wall. They shouldn't be showing this, man. If they're trying to, say that the people are actually, the Iranian people are so happy that we bombed them and they're just ready to rise up. They really shouldn't be putting, all of this anti-American graffiti that's all over their country on the wall to show the exact opposite.
Reopen the strait. That would be very good, as Bill was talking about, for energy prices. That would help stabilize, I think, the American economy, the global economy. But that would just be a narrow first step toward a broader deal that would address the nuclear program, the missiles, and the proxies.
So if that's the case, then if they go into this 60-day...
The proxies, dude, you really think you're going to get that sort of concession from Iran at this point? My God, they just live in an alternate reality. They always have to live in an alternate reality until they get forced back down to reality. And I mean, eventually they'll understand, because they have to understand, but they'll just pretend. When it finally comes to the point where they have to be forced, like America is straight up forced into accepting all of Iran's concessions, they're going to they'll try to spin it as a win, and then afterwards they'll just forget about it. There will never be any comeuppance for these people for being just professionally wrong all the time.
Extended ceasefire, and you open the strait, and the U.S. Navy backs off somewhat. This becomes a more prolonged conflict with an uncertain date somewhere down the line. Are we okay with that?
Well, I don't think that it ends up relieving the military pressure. The president can keep the theater just as it is, and the military, our military is very well postured in the region. So at any point, the president can return to the battlefield.
Why would they accept that? Why would they accept that? Okay, my understanding of the memorandum of understanding, or whatever it's called, is that step one is both America and Iran slowly back off over controlling traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what that looks like, we'll see. I think that Iran is still going to maintain some level of control over it throughout that process, but that's step one. And if you can't even get to step one, then they're not going to accept anything. And that's what I said before, is that the stupidest geopolitical strategic decision that I've ever seen in my entire life is that America did not did not end their blockade when Iran said, "Okay, we will open up the strait as a part of the ceasefire." Right when we first got into the ceasefire, Iran tried to open up the strait. They said, "Okay, well, as a show of good faith, we will open it up," and America was supposed to as well open it up. But then I think Hawks, like this fucking loser right here, spoke into his ear and said, "No, you should keep up the pressure. Keep up the pressure. See, they're already capitulating. You should just keep up the pressure." And Trump, like a big fucking, I don't know, like dog that just remembers the last thing that was spoken to him or whatever, said, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll do that." And so then he fucking kept the strait blocked from American side, and then Iran said, "Okay, then fine, fuck it, we'll reclose it again." And so what would have happened is if they would have actually backed off there, then America wouldn't be on a fucking timeline. America could have slow rolled this as long as they fucking wanted if they had backed off, because the economy could have started recovering. And then America could have taken all the time in the world to try to pressure and negotiate with Iran. So when America did that, I was genuinely perplexed at the stupidity of that move. And now he's trying to say we should do that again. We should do it again. The stupidest decision, the stupidest geopolitical decision that I think I've ever seen. We need to do it again. These people are idiots, man.
And
it's
I think
crazy.
that's the leverage he has. He has military leverage, and he has economic leverage through the naval blockade. So I think you've got diplomacy that's backed by military strength. And I think I haven't seen in my experience, remember in the first term, the president met with Kim Jong-un from North Korea 3 separate times.
Mm-hmm. Over a year.
Yeah, exactly. In Hanoi, they couldn't reach a deal. And so the president walked away from a bad deal. There is very strong precedent for the president not accepting a bad deal. Mm-hmm. So if the talks around the MOU break down.
What happens then? What happens if Trump walks away from the deal? Answer that. What happens? The entire global economy falls off a cliff. There's blackouts across all of Europe. Europe is unable is not able to provide the energy that it needs to keep power on. There are literally like rolling blackouts throughout Europe, and East Asia is just completely fucked. Like there's no energy. Like they might be like full total blackout like 24/7 at that point. And America gets up to $7-8 a gallon all across the world, all across the country, even in the Midwest. It'll be like $15 a gallon in California. That is what happens if Trump walks away. That is what happens. That would be what happens if America decides to walk away from this deal. So I don't think he's going to do that. I think that eventually he is going to be forced to accept Iran's terms, because he won't be able to handle the international pressure that is going to come along with that, along with the domestic pressure. But I don't think that's anywhere near as significant as the international pressure that would come from that.
The president can return to the battlefield or restore the naval blockade.
What about our allies in the region? Do you think they will come on board and sign on to the Abraham Accords, as the president asked the other day?
Yeah, our Gulf partners have asked the president to come to an agreement on the MOU, to open the strait, because they need it open. He has asked in return, I need you to join the Abraham Accords, which was a signature achievement of the first term. And I think you have a number of Gulf.
Did you hear what happened though on that call? It was leaked. I mean, I'm going to trust the leaker, because this does sound about right. Is that he asked them all to join the Abraham Accords, which, for those unaware, the Abraham Accords are supposed to normalize relations between, originally I think it was Saudi Arabia and Israel. This was these were like created like I think by Kushner, or at least pushed by Kushner, like in Trump 1, if I remember correctly, like near the end of Trump 1, along with like moving the base or the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem or something, like, all of these like provocations, which, by the way, directly led to October 7th. Like these were the provocations that Hamas listed as the reason why they did October 7th, or like some of the reasons, I guess I should say. And so as a part of like the Abraham Accords, they would recognize, like Saudi Arabia, I think, would recognize Israel in exchange for, I would guess it's like more military support from America was probably the trade, if I remember correctly, which a whole lot of good all that military support did you, Saudi Arabia. You got your shit kicked in by Iran. But yeah, anyway, that was supposed to be the Abraham Accords. Those have been on hold since October 7th because Israel is just incapable of not trying to kill every single brown person like that borders, like brown country that borders their state. Like they are just literally just like incapable of not trying to steal all of the territory and land of all the brown people around them. And so since then, Saudi Arabia has not been able politically to accept the Abraham Accords. Don't get me wrong, these countries do not have they do not align very closely with their populace, generally speaking. They are like dictatorships in a sense, where they are somewhat separated from the the will of the people. However, they do have to maintain some level of credibility towards their people, which are largely Muslim, and do see the Palestinians as like the Palestinian cause is something that they care about, right? And so they have been unable politically to sign on to the Abraham Accords since October 7th, despite how much the people at the top might want to, right? And now you get a situation where America is incapable of protecting them. America is straight up incapable of protecting these Gulf allies. That the whole premise of this relationship with America and burgeoning relationship with Israel was that they were going to they would agree to become a part of this like American, imperialist project, essentially as pawns or as client states of America. And they would throw the Palestinians under the bus, and in exchange, America would protect them and would, allow them to continue running their countries like they do, as like, tax havens for pedophiles to come like benefit off of the slave labor that they get, like that they import from other countries, which is how a lot of them operate. But regardless, I guess what I'm saying is that at this particular point in time, none of them want to, like, even the original premise of joining the Abraham Accords doesn't even apply anymore. Like, I don't think any of them necessarily, maybe the UAE, but I think most of them have realized that, America isn't going to be able to hold this thing together. like I think that's kind of what they're thinking right now. So there is no way in hell that they are going to do this. No way in hell. It's not going to happen. They are not going to sign on to the Abraham Accords while America is weaker than it has ever been, shown that it is incapable of protecting them, shown that having America's military bases on your soil does, like, it just creates little missile sponges for Iran to just pepper during any conflict. Like, where Iran is showing itself to be the regional empire, the regional hegemonic empire that, like, nobody, not even Israel, will be able to contend with. Like, and because they have control of the Strait of Hormuz, they are essentially going to be the regional hegemon. And so, like, during this time period, there's no way. There's no way that any of these countries are going to sign on to that. And also, there's no way that Iran would let that happen as a part of this deal. So, that's all just it's one of the most insane things that I've ever heard of someone of a. It's funny. It's like when someone doesn't read the room, right? Like, I'm sure that lots of people have been in situations where, like, someone just didn't read the room, right? Like, they made a joke or something and, like, they just didn't read the room and it came off weird or awkward or bad. And everybody's like, ugh, like, something along those lines. This is like someone doing that, but, like, on a geopolitical, like, strategic level where I can't imagine any other president other than Donald Trump being able to so thoroughly misread the room and, like, make this proposition right now. It's insane.
Partners who would like to normalize with Israel, they need the political space to do it, but I think it's very good to pressure them so that they can focus on all the benefits that would accrue to them by normalizing with Israel.
Seem very smart.
Can this
Yeah, what benefits? Like, seriously, what benefits? Becoming even more of an enemy of the regional hegemon? Like, what? Getting more bases on your soil for America to not protect, like for America. By the way, America has gone through 50% of its missiles and interceptor stockpiles. That means none of these people are getting any of that shit for a long ass time either. America can produce like 2 missiles a year. Like, it's not gonna, like, you're not gonna get that either for a while. So like, what benefit would you possibly get from signing on to the Abraham Accords? The only thing you would get is more political instability in your country. And these people, I think at the very least, like, want to maintain their, like, you know, kingdoms and stuff or whatever. So that is insane.
Administration, can this president get Saudi Arabia to do that?
That's a great question, Bill.
Nope.
I know that Saudi has talked about it. It's
Nope.
something that they have talked about diplomatically. I think it's a place that would be of great economic benefit and strategic benefit to Saudi and its economy and its security.
No.
Because Israel is now providing a security.
All of these are the exact opposite of what the Saudis will likely be thinking in their head at this point. There's no way they possibly think that this would be good for their regional security to do.
The umbrella for other Gulf partners in the region.
What did you just say?
Its economy and its security. Because Israel is now providing a security umbrella for other.
Israel is providing a security umbrella. You mean by like invading every brown country next to them? I heard Turkey was next. Like, Turkey is next. Guess what? Saudi Arabia, you're gonna be on the list too. You're on the line. Like, if they get the amount of like resources and money and like people and like military, like service members possible, they will bomb the shit out of and try to invade and steal your territory to Saudi Arabia. What kind of umbrella is he fucking talking about? That's ridiculous, dude. And Israel is not going to do shit to save Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia gets in a conflict with Iran, they're not going to do shit for that. I don't even think they do shit for the UAE. I don't think I've seen anything about Israel sending their missile interceptors over to the UAE to try to protect them when the UAE is like by far the most closely aligned with Israel. Like, my God, dude, these people are insane.
Gulf partners in the region during this war with Iran. So I think there are a lot of benefits. I think Saudi is aware of those. They would like to see something on the Palestinian file to happen first.
Yeah. And apparently that could actually come up in the cabinet meeting as well. Ainsley told me about that this morning. So it's great to have you in person.
Thanks, Dana.
Yeah. You're always welcome.
Yeah, all you gotta do is get Israel to agree to a Palestinian state. How hard could that be? On the 1967 borders. And you have to, so that would imply eliminate, like, moving 500,000 illegal Israeli settlers out of the West Bank. You think Israel's going to do that shit? I don't think so. Okay, that was an insane end, but at least I got to talk about that the Abraham Accords thing, which is hilarious. It's a hilarious thing that happened. I can't believe he did that. When he said it on the call, I think there was silence on the other end of the line. I might have neglected to say that when I was rambling about it, but yeah, he said. He said, like, oh yeah, they should all come onto the Abraham Accords, and everybody on the line like was just silent, like with all the Gulf state leaders or whatever. And he was like, you guys still there? Like, it's straight up like a SNL bit or something. Like, okay, let's move on. Let's see what this other video is. This one I think is going to go a little bit more into the leaked proposal, if I remember correctly. Well, this might just give a little bit more detailed analysis of what's going on. So, Iran expert the nuclear stuff. Okay, I think this is hopefully just going to give us a little bit more info about the Iran situation. So let's go ahead and watch this and see what's going on.
Television is reporting that according to a draft memo, the U.S. will end its blockade of Iran's ports. And in return, Iran will restore the number of commercial ships transiting through the Strait of Hormuz to pre-war levels soon. CNN's Oren Lieberman joins us now from Jerusalem with the latest. Oren, what are you learning about this draft memo being reported on Iranian state television?
Linda, this is our first sense of what's in the memorandum of understanding that's being worked on between the U.S. and Iran to try to get to a ceasefire agreement. It is important to note that this information comes from Iranian state television, so we don't yet have confirmation of this from the U.S. side. And crucially, even Iranian state television says this isn't finalized yet. But it does include a lot of what the U.S. is looking for in terms of the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state television says the memorandum of understanding, or MOU, calls for the U.S. to lift its blockade of Iranian ports and for U.S. military forces to withdraw from the vicinity of Iran. And in exchange, Iran would open the Strait of Hormuz and ensure that traffic through the crucial waterway is back to pre-war levels within 1 month. All that.
Okay. That verbiage is very, very, can be interpreted a lot of ways. So Iran, he says that America must, withdraw from the region, right? That could imply like, any of the like military bases in any of the Gulf states around them, like withdraw all of the people from there. It could mean just the Navy blockade and all of the Navy military assets around, like in the Gulf of Oman or whatever. Like it could imply just removing those. It seems a little bit ambiguous. And the other part of it, where they said they would get traffic back up to pre-war levels, guess what that means? That means there's going to be a toll system. They might not call it a toll system. They might call it some like management fee or straight management fee. I know they've also been discussing with Oman, like sharing it. I would guess that's honestly that's a pretty good gift to Oman to be party to make that money, essentially, because Iran, I think Iran is just offering that because it would make it a little bit more palatable to the rest of the world, that like Iran controls this in its entirety, but is claiming shared ownership. Like, I think that can make it a lot more palatable. But guess what? That means Iran is going to be setting up some sort of monetary payment system. The way that that's worded, 100%. We'll see what the end result is, but that's definitely what they're expecting from the Iranian side.
That according to Iranian state television. Now, that's not it. In terms of monitoring the flow of traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, through which some 1/5 of the world's water flows, through which 1/5 of the world's crude oil flows, it would be up to Iran working with Oman to monitor and control that traffic, according to Iranian state television. That, in and of itself, may be unacceptable to the U.S. because that, in a way, leaves the Strait of Hormuz under partial Iranian sovereignty. And that, of course,
guess what? It's already under total Iranian sovereignty, because Iran has shown that they can militarily control it in its entirety. So nothing America can do about it, nothing the rest of the world can do about it. Iran does have de facto control over the strait. How they choose to exercise that control is completely up to them going forward. They could do the toll system. They could do a shared toll system. They could do a unilateral toll system if they wanted. They could say only ships from that are going to China and Russia are allowed to go through after this. Like, they could do whatever they want after this. They have control because they have the might, and there's nothing that America can do about it. So it's just how much do they choose to exercise that? How much of a win does Iran let America have is kind of like the real question.
Has been a red line for the U.S. Now, Iranian state TV says this is still in the works. It's still being negotiated, and it's not finalized. But Pakistan is mediating between the U.S. and Iran to try to get to some sort of agreement here. Now, there's a lot we don't know here. According to Iranian state television, it calls for the U.S. to withdraw forces from the vicinity of Iran. What exactly does that mean? Iran has called for the U.S. to withdraw forces from the broader Middle East. I think that's clearly not going to happen. So a lot depends on how Iran defines.
It wasn't that the whole goal of the pivot to Asia? Wasn't that literally the foreign policy establishment's entire goal, was to pivot from the Middle East and move all of our troops out of the Middle East so that they could go over to China? I guess we're just giving up on that at this point. I think that's what we're seeing, is that America America knows that it wouldn't be able to do jack shit against China. Also, clearly, Israel is not capable of being like the hegemon in the region at this point in time, because Iran is so powerful that like America still feels like the necessity to come in and protect its most important client state. So, but wouldn't that be a gift to America to just like send all the troops home? Like that, I would love that. That would be so much. Sorry. Oh man, so much more tax dollars in my pocket if we did that. But America probably won't do it because it's too scared of Israel getting its shit rocked in by Iran.
Its vicinity, and whether the U.S. would even see it as acceptable that Iran and Oman are left monitoring and controlling traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. But this is a look at the MOU that's in the works here to try to get to a broader ceasefire agreement to end this war and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Linda, we have seen a trickle of traffic flowing through the strait. I believe there were about 24 ships, or 25 ships that went through yesterday. That's still a fraction of pre-war traffic.
And Aaron, we know that
the 24, I think, were all controlled, owned, and went under the Iranian directorate to go through their ports and to go through their waterways in order, like they're essentially enforcing some form of control there, I think.
The U.S. president is set to host a cabinet meeting discussing Iran in the coming hours. Do we know what exactly the U.S. will accept, and who is negotiating on behalf of the U.S. right now?
In the end, it's almost certainly simply up to President Donald Trump himself. What is he willing to accept as part of an agreement here? Now, the red lines he's drawn are no highly enriched uranium remaining in Iran and trying to essentially end the nuclear program. Now, that's not in this. Iran has, through the means of this MOU and its other negotiations, pushed that off to a...
That's not going to happen. They're going to have enrichment, and they're going to probably blend it down to 20%. If I had to guess, that's what's going to happen. But they're not going to get rid of all of their enriched uranium, and they're also not going to get rid of their ability to enrich. That's too much leverage. They need that leverage. They're not going to do that.
Later phase of negotiations. So it's really up to Trump in terms of what he would accept. Pakistan has been mediating here. We've seen Vice President J.D. Vance be a part of this, as well as envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
Let's bring in Ali Fayez, who is the Iran Projector Director for the International Crisis Group. Appreciate your time today.
Good to be with you.
So I want to get your reaction first to the Iranian state television report about this draft agreement, including major concessions, the withdrawal and reduction of U.S. military presence, and, of course, changes to maritime restrictions. How much of this reflects Iran's framing of a proposal rather than an actual negotiated draft?
Look, it is most probably framed in a way that is tilted more to Iran's interests than is truly the case. I'm sure the Iranians are also making a lot of concessions that are pretty painful in order to get this memorandum of understanding. Both sides.
I don't think so, man. I mean, I truly believe that Iran is going to walk away with this with something much better than the JCPOA. It's the only reasonable conclusion that can come to this, just based on the material conditions on the ground. I think Iran feels very confident right now, rightfully so. And I think they are going to extract as much concessions as they possibly can in order to make it unlikely that America and Israel are going to ever do this again. They have to make it, they have to punish America. America has shown that the only thing that will rein it in is pure military force, like pure military resistance, and Iran showed that they had that in spades. And I guess okay, economic, if you count the hard power, I guess is what I would say, like hard power control over the Strait of Hormuz. And so I think that Iran is feeling pretty confident. I think they're right to feel that confident. I don't want them to ever feel overconfident, but I don't really think it's the tendency of Iran to ever over overconfident. And the exact opposite way that it is for America to always feel overconfident. I think as the lesser power in an asymmetric warfare, you have to have a very accurate read and understanding of the actual conditions and what you think the outcomes will be based on what you what you're asking for and stuff, and whether it will be worth it compared to just letting the economy tank and letting the global economy tank as well, in order to get even more concessions. They have to be very careful about their understanding, and that's why I don't really trust them to ever be like overconfident. So I think that they're rightfully confident in their bargaining position right now, and so whatever comes out of this is going to reflect that reality.
Sides have done one key important thing here, which is to prioritize the urgent over the important. The urgent is reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and removing both the Iranian blockade and the U.S. naval blockade. The Iranians would need it because they are not able to export their oil. The United States needs it because the energy prices keep hiking at this moment and would affect the president and his party's electoral chances in November. And so overall, this is in the interest of both sides. And then they are giving themselves time and space to negotiate over the next 60 days about the important issue of the future of Iran's nuclear program.
To ask you about that, because the Strait of Hormuz,
the important non-issue, it's the non-issue. The nuclear program it's a non-issue, but
it certainly seems to be
whatever.
The centerpiece of this draft framework. Why is maritime access being prioritized ahead of that key, very sticky issue of Iran's nuclear program?
Look, because experience shows that given the degree of mistrust between the two sides, given the complexity of these issues, it is going to take quite a bit of time to negotiate a nuclear deal. Whereas, a lot of countries in the global south are going to run out of fertilizer.
That's the reason. That's the real reason. It's because the global economy is going to go off a cliff unless America agrees to Iran's demands. And so they don't want to agree to everything right off the bat. And so they're basically just going back to, like I said, that strategic miscalculation that they made that was so stupid in the beginning of they kept their blockade up when they should have just let it go so that they had unlimited time to do their bargaining. Now they're just going back to that potentially. We'll see what happens. But I think I'm going to move on now. From Iran. I think we kind of got our, daily dose of Iran content. I don't think this guy's really given me any new information or analysis here. So I'm probably just I'm gonna call it quits on this one. I think that we'll see what turns, what actually happens. I just don't know if America has the stockpiles or capabilities really at this point to go back into a full hot war again. They might. I don't know. I honestly don't know. They might do it anyway. If they do, they can last another 5-6 weeks and then they're out of missiles. So maybe they'll do that, maybe they won't. But I mean, I'm leaning towards America. Now I'm kind of leaning towards America agreeing to something. I think we're going to start seeing much more severe impacts within the next month or so. So I think that within that time frame, America might be forced to get into some sort of agreement. The longer America waits in this particular circumstance, the worse their bargaining position is going to be. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm always talking about Iran on this channel. It's like the first fucking 30 minutes of my broadcast every single day. Okay, let's move on. Israel related content. So as America is trying to get a ceasefire with Iran, Iran has been very, very consistent that they want Lebanon to be a part of this ceasefire. Now I've said before I would extend it to Gaza as well if I was Iran, but they're the negotiators here. They got the smart people who know what they're doing. So so they want Israel and Lebanon to be a part of the ceasefire, and there's the primary reason for that from Iran's perspective is that if America can't rein in Israel or is unwilling to rein in Israel, then there is no point to the ceasefire. Then they might as well just continue to be at war, because Israel will just be a destabilizing force in perpetuity, going to war with every brown country that surrounds it and trying to steal all of their territory as much as they possibly can, like forever, constantly destabilizing as long as they possibly can. And so Iran wants America to rein in Israel, to show that they are capable of doing so. Because if they're not capable, like I said, if they're not capable of it, then there's no real point to even having a ceasefire at that point. So, but Israel does not want that. Israel wants to keep trying to steal as much territory as possible. This is largely due to the fact that Israel is in the weakest geopolitical strategic position that it has ever been in historically. Americans are turning on Israel like, I don't know, what's something that turns a lot, like a ballet person. They're turning on Israel real fast. It's already a done deal when it comes to the Democratic Party. It's like a 90-10 issue. When it comes to Republicans, it's probably still favor Israel, like 60-40 or something. Or like favorable opinions of Israel, but it is going down, and it is generational as well, which is exactly how it started with the Democratic Party. So eventually those numbers on the Republican side are also going to be very against Israel as well. It might take a little longer though, but yeah. And so Israel sees this as their kind of last hurrah, really. As a part of that last hurrah, though, it does seem like they're doing the classic thing that Nazis tend to do at the end of their at the end of their reign, essentially, which is to overextend themselves in every single direction. So that's kind of like, I'd say, like where we're at, where Israel is currently occupying parts of Syria. They're occupying parts of Gaza. They have the entire West Bank that they need a full military occupation, essentially, of that part of Palestine as well, in order to protect all of their, I'll just say, like, super smart settlers. They're dumb, mentally stupid settlers out there. They need a lot of protecting if they want to keep bashing in Palestinian faces doing pogroms and all that sort of stuff. It requires a lot. And then obviously now they're also pretty spread pretty thin in Lebanon as well. And so I think a lot of Western media doesn't really cover this that much, but Hezbollah has been doing work on Israel, and they have been for a long time now. They've been taking out their Markava tanks since Israel crossed over the border. Like, they have been taking out, at least a couple a day, the entire time. Like, the entire time that Israel has been violating the ceasefire and all that sort of stuff, or like even before that, when they first invaded. And I think that the most recent sort of changes have been in like drone warfare. Hezbollah has been taking up like the Ukrainian model of using like cheap drones, like not like Shahed drones, like not those types of drones, but like actual drones that you fly with like a remote control, and using those in order to wreak havoc on the Israeli occupation forces that are trying to commit genocide against their people. So this video, I think, should cover a lot of that. Let's go ahead and watch it. Let's see what this analyst, I guess is the right word for that, says about it, and we'll see if we agree or disagree.
Is intensifying its strikes on Lebanon despite agreeing to a US-brokered ceasefire. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his military is now operating with, quote, large forces on the ground and taking control of strategic areas. It's issued evacuation orders for 8 more towns in southern Lebanon in the past hour. Earlier, strikes hit Nabatea and the town of Mashgara, where...
And I know that also, keep in mind, you're going to see a lot of this. As a genocidal nation state runs out of fumes and is kind of like reaching the limits of what they're able to do militarily, what they tend to do is they tend to turn to how much civilian damage can we do, right? That's like what they tend to do. So they will start doing more and more damage to civilian infrastructure. They'll start killing more and more civilians. I always say it's terrible. It's war crimes. It is like something that must be stopped. We must stop this from happening. However, at the same time, I want to give people hope, because this does not a war win. Okay, the amount of civilians you kill does not in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, not in any way, shape, or form indicate what the end result, strategic result of the war is going to be. In fact, usually the people who end up doing a lot of war crimes and committing atrocities against civilians usually end up failing when it comes to strategic goals and strategic outcomes of the war. So I like to always like kind of preface, like, you're going to see a lot of this. It's going to be very genocidal. There's going to be a lot of death and destruction of civilians, but death and destructions of civilians is not the same as like actual military accomplishments against like Hezbollah. So as long as Hezbollah is there and fighting and still going strong, this is not going to any way, like, because this is what they do, like as an avoidance of actually fighting against Hezbollah. It's a way to rally their genocidal like masses, right, to like a hysteria of like, yes, we are doing so much genocidal damage and we are punishing them and it makes us feel good. But it's because they are actually unable to accomplish things on the battlefield. That is why they turn to this. So you know, it is terrible, it is disgusting, it is genocidal, but it is not in any way going to lead to strategic victory.
At least 11 people were killed, including 2 children. More than 3,000 people have been killed across Lebanon since March.
Under my direction and that of the Minister of Defence, together with the Chief of Staff, we're intensifying our operations in Lebanon. With large IDF forces on the ground and control over key areas, we are fortifying the security zone to protect the northern communities. At the same time, we're mobilising a massive national effort to develop...
We'll see how long that lasts, by the way. We'll see how long they can last inside of Lebanon, because history tells us that it's not that long. Usually they are forced out by Hezbollah, like I'd say like within a year or so. So I don't think that they're going to be able to last that long in Lebanon. They certainly will not be able to last indefinitely. As long as Hezbollah exists, they will be, you know, there will be an IOF soldier dying at least once per day until they decide to leave. And eventually that politically becomes too toxic, even for the genocidal fever pitch that the average Israeli citizen is like currently in.
Creative and innovative solutions against explosive drones.
Now, Israel says it's expanded.
They won't be able to do shit about the drones, by the way. Russia hasn't really been able to do shit about the drones. It has been a very new, interesting form of warfare. And I'm sure they'll try to come up with some way to stop this from happening. But the problem is, like, a lot of people often think like, oh, if we just get this one piece of defensive technology, that it's going to stop these things from happening, without ever considering that, but the enemy is also going to adapt to everything that you come up with and will come up with ways around it. Like that's like when they were talking about like the laser system, that they're so close to having a laser system that's able to just knock out drones for like pennies on the dollar or whatever. I'm like, we'll see. I'll believe it when I see it in action, you know. But even if they did, it's like, well, then the enemy or like the Iranians or whoever, right, will then just find ways around that. Like it's a two-sided game, this game of war that Israel chooses to play against all of their neighbors.
It's a ground operation beyond the so-called yellow line. That's a no-go zone, about 10 kilometers north of the border. The yellow line also extends into Mediterranean waters that are rich in energy resources.
Of course, they're trying to claim the energy resources as well.
Displacement is also growing. Since Israel ramped up its threats, many people are fleeing places known as Hezbollah strongholds, including the southern suburbs of Beirut, where they're now living in makeshift camps. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by Ali Rizk. He's a security affairs analyst and contributor to Responsible Statecraft. He joins me live in Beirut. 20%.
I read that sometimes.
Of Lebanon's population is displaced right now. Israel says it has 14% of Lebanese territory and is expanding. So the question is this, very simply, is Hezbollah losing this war?
No, I don't think you could say Hezbollah is losing this war. In fact, I think one of the reasons why Netanyahu is doing what he's doing is because he's been rather surprised by Hezbollah's performance. I think that many people thought that this time Hezbollah was going to be an easy prey given what happened.
It's exactly what I just said, by the way. I don't pre-watch this stuff, but yeah, the reason that he's overreacting and overreaching is because Israel is in a weakened state. That is why they are doing these things. They are weaker than they have ever been, both politically and militarily. They are incredibly weak right now.
In 2024, during the 66-day war, where
I would also say, always remember, the Israeli occupying forces, the actual on the ground, boots on the ground army, are not used to fighting real resistance, right? They fight Hamas, sure. Like occasionally, like I don't know, they barely even do that though. They usually rely almost entirely on airstrikes when it comes to Gaza, but I guess maybe occasionally they engage with Hamas on the ground. But then they're used to their main purpose is a civilian police force, right? They are like imagine like ICE, right? Like, you know how right now like America is like recruiting a bunch of, I don't know, like 20-year-old like borderline retarded like just like very very stupid like people like to become a part of ICE, and then it's either that or like a 300-pound hog who like hasn't seen a treadmill in their entire life. Like these are that's essentially what the types of people that are recruited into the Israeli military are, because it's like a forced military system where everybody has to be a part of it. It is really more of just an internal police force, and their usual goal is to brutalize civilians and to kill civilians and to target and, you know, rape and oppress like Palestinian civilians. Like that is their primary goal. So when they actually have to fight in real skirmishes against actual resistance, they usually do horribly. And so we will see, you know, I think you need to take that into consideration as well when they're doing this sort of stuff. A lot of their capabilities are all just airstrikes, and airstrikes do not win wars. Like they just don't.
The Israelis scored some major successes against Hezbollah, but it turned out to be quite surprising this time. And I think that's why Netanyahu is being forced to intensify the operation, because there's a lot of criticism, by the way, from northern settlers, from rival politicians. So I think that Netanyahu finds that he has no choice but to do this. Remember that Netanyahu prides himself, I think, of being the prime minister who was able to score these major successes against Hezbollah, which is Israel's traditional nemesis. It was the first Arab force that was able to fight Israel to a standstill in 2006. So after what Netanyahu achieved in 2024, those achievements are now in jeopardy. And I think that's one of the major driving factors pushing him to escalate.
Now, Ali, Israel does have a weapon here that is beyond just the war. It's the displacement crisis in Lebanon. Like I say, 20%, more than 1 million people are displaced right now. At what point does that become a Lebanese crisis that forces pressure on Hezbollah?
That is one of the Israeli objectives, to make Hezbollah supporters turn against it. But I don't think that will be successful in any way whatsoever.
Well, especially as Hezbollah becomes more and more successful. Hezbollah was in probably a weakened political state, I would say, at the beginning of this conflict. Largely because they were seen as joining in into a war that like the Lebanese people might not have wanted to overall. But Israel was always going to invade and try to steal Lebanese territory regardless of whether Hezbollah joined in or not. So like, I mean, that's kind of like a messaging issue, I guess. But I think the more brutal and barbaric Israel is, and the more evil they are, the more people come to like be on Hezbollah's side. The more people who are displaced, the more people are like pro Hezbollah is what I would say. And the more civilian infrastructure that Israel targets, and the more genocide it commits, and the more medical professionals that Israel kills and the more schools that they target, the more and more people get on board with Hezbollah, and the more and more Hezbollah is able to recruit. Hezbollah probably is recruiting more right now than they ever have. So I don't know. I think I think that these two things are fundamentally incompatible. You're not going to be able to politically weaken Hezbollah without backing off of your genocidal intentions, but the genocidal intentions are the entire goal, so you are by necessity going to strengthen Hezbollah politically. It's like there's no way around that dichotomy.
I think that first and foremost it's about security. There was, by the way, a recent opinion poll which was held, and that opinion poll revealed that 88% of the Shias, Lebanese Shias, do not support the disarmament of Hezbollah. So that goes a long way in telling you where the traditional or where the core supporters of Hezbollah stand. And I think it's actually the opposite. The more the Israelis continue with this bombardment without the Lebanese state taking up the role which it should take in protecting or in taking any action, the more the Lebanese Shias are going to see Hezbollah as their only refuge. And so I don't think that this, if that's one of the Israeli objectives, I don't think it's going to succeed.
But if it is the way you say it is, then, Hezbollah is going to do what it wants to do, what it has to do to survive, to try and give the Israelis a run for their money in the south. But this is all going on as negotiations are taking place in D.C. between the Lebanese government and the Israelis. Now, those negotiations...
Dude, what? Who cares about those negotiations? What's the Lebanese army going to do about this shit? The Lebanese army is fucking, like... They are so weakened that like they would not be able to disarm Hezbollah. There's nothing they could possibly do to disarm Hezbollah. The worst thing they probably could possibly do is to try to start some sort of civil war against Hezbollah right now. If they literally went to war against Hezbollah, I think that it would, honest to God, create like a civil war condition where Hezbollah, like, I don't know, like people would have to pick sides, right? And I don't think that they could politically do that, especially when another country is at war with them. And the Lebanese army, it's their fucking job to go out there and like start murking IOF people. Like they should be out there killing as many Israeli occupation forces as possible. If they did that, then maybe there would be a situation where people would not support Hezbollah. But it would be ridiculous for people not to support Hezbollah when Hezbollah is literally the only thing keeping Israel from like marching down the streets of Beirut and like declaring all of Lebanon Israeli territory. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm sorry. They're going to have support in this situation.
Despite the fact that Hezbollah says the Lebanese government shouldn't be negotiating, those negotiations will eventually have an impact on Hezbollah, right?
Nah.
They may, but I think that the more important negotiations which we have to keep an eye on are those between Iran and the United States. Now, Iran has been adamant that any deal must include Lebanon. And I think in this particular issue, the United States...
The reason I say nah is just it's not possible. The Lebanese army can't do anything against Hezbollah. They just can't. And I don't think that there would be the political will to do that while Hezbollah is defending Lebanon from the genocidal Israeli forces. So I just don't think it's going to happen.
This might give in to that. It might say, yes, okay, let it include Lebanon. I think that's a small price to pay for the U.S. in exchange for the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, in exchange for reaching a broader agreement with Iran. Remember that Hezbollah is not a threat to American interests. Hezbollah is a threat to Israeli expansion, so to speak. So I think that this might be a bargain which the Americans may, I emphasize may, take up. If that means that they will solve the economic issues, that means the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, the oil prices decreasing, addressing all those issues, Lebanon's a small price to pay for the Americans. And I think, by the way, that's something which Hezbollah is...
I think it might happen. Like, I do think that Iran is serious about that negotiation and about wanting Lebanon to be a part of it. The question really is what happens. Like, there needs to be contingencies built in for what happens when Israel inevitably violates it, right? So like, let's say there is a negotiated settlement between the U.S. and Iran, and they say, okay, as a part of the settlement, Israel has to completely remove itself from Lebanon and fully and is not allowed to do any sort of strikes against Hezbollah or Lebanon whatsoever, and vice versa. Lebanon and Hezbollah are not allowed to strike Israel. So what are the contingencies when Israel inevitably does not follow that, right? When Israel does start doing strikes on Lebanon outside of that, then what, right? Those are the questions that need to be ironed out, because I think that it would necessitate, at the very least, Hezbollah would need to retaliate. But then also I think it would necessitate Iran to retaliate as well. I think Iran would need to start striking Israel again, I think, in that particular circumstance. I think that should be laid out in the deal, is that if Israel decides to break this ceasefire, then Iran will have full rights to reclose the Strait of Hormuz and to start striking Israel as well. Like, I think that needs to be kind of like part of it.
Is banking on. Hezbollah is banking on that adamant Iranian stance with the Americans, and I think that it knows that might be the determinant factor more than what happens between the Lebanese and the Israelis.
Ali Reza, thank you so much.
Yep. Well, pretty good analysis. That interviewer, man, I don't know what he was talking about. He seemed like he was really anti-Hezbollah, if I had to guess. But okay, well, there you go. Let's see what else we got. Let's move over to domestic stuff.
This was
we're going to talk about Paxton. So Paxton won the primary. Paxton, he was able to take some time out of cheating on his wife to go get out the vote and get people to come vote for him. And likewise, Donald Trump also, I think, endorsed him. So this is going to be the opponent of Talarico, I think, in Texas for the Senate. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and watch this video. We'll see if we can figure out what we think is going to happen there. I'm a little mixed, I guess. I don't know. I do think that Talarico has a better chance than Crockett. However, I don't know if it's a good enough chance to actually win in Texas. But maybe this video will convince me one way or the other.
This was unthinkable even just maybe 2 weeks ago for some Republicans.
Yeah, Paxton was running a little bit ahead here, but a little bit ahead. And then when Donald Trump showed up, it changed everything. Now, if you go back to the primary results, Cornyn actually narrowly won more votes in the primary, but there was a third person in the race, a guy named Wesley Hunt. And obviously, those Wesley Hunt voters didn't want to vote for Cornyn. And most of those, obviously.
Has he always had that accent? I didn't know he was a good old boy. I always thought he talked like, I don't know, like just I didn't think he really had like a Southern accent, but I don't know, maybe he did. Or maybe he's just putting it on for this particular segment.
Wesley Hunt. And obviously, those Wesley Hunt voters didn't want to vote for Cornyn. And most of those obviously have gone to Paxton. But look, the bottom line is this. If Donald Trump wants you to be the nominee of the Republican Party for virtually any office, he can will it into existence. And that has happened again tonight in Texas. There's also an attorney general campaign going on underneath this. I don't think we've called it yet, but there's a strong undercurrent of who's for Trump and who isn't in that race. And it looks like the more Trump-aligned candidate is going to win down there as well. So, we're learning this lesson over and over again. Indiana, Louisiana, Kentucky, where I live, and now Texas, over and over again, we're learning. If Donald Trump wants you to have the party's nomination, the voters look at that and say, we trust the president's judgment and we'll give it to you.
But Paul, I should note when we're hearing.
Yeah, it definitely is still Trump's party. I don't know. Maybe are there people out there who are saying that MAGA is Trump is historically unpopular, but it's not amongst MAGA. It's not amongst the people who would be likely Republican voters. He's unpopular with independents. He's unpopular with maybe liberal leaning Republicans, like people who aren't MAGA, Kool-Aid drinkers, but he is still incredibly popular for the base. And I think he will continue to be incredibly popular until he either dies or is completely politically irrelevant, like almost dead, basically, because he's so old that it's basically dead or senile at this point after he gets out of office. So yeah, I think that he still has a stranglehold on the party, and I haven't heard people really claiming differently than that, but maybe some people have been.
This tonight about the concerns of what this general election matchup is going to look like. It's not coming from Democrats or just critics of the president. It's coming from Republicans in his own party who are up on Capitol Hill that are worried about it.
Right, because they can count. You know, Trump makes you unbeatable in the primary, but it could make you unelectable in the general. We're talking about Texas Senate seat up. King referred to this, and he's generally wrong about everything. He's a horrible.
Okay. Maybe. I don't think that Trump's decision actually impacts that much when it comes to the general necessarily, insofar as I think it has an effect in, like, I guess insofar as he picks bad candidates or like people who are like Paxton is not a good candidate. I'm going to be honest. Paxton is not a good candidate. He has so much baggage. He is he has so much like personal issues, like just like personal issues. I think he's also been involved in some fraud stuff. And also I think that he's potentially tied to some stop the steal stuff as well. Like all of this stuff makes him not a very good candidate. Like Cornyn is the better candidate for the Republicans if they want to win the primary. But I don't think that Trump has like this like stink of death on him when it comes to like picking a candidate necessarily. I just think he tends to pick the worst candidate or the candidate that will do worse in the general because that person is more loyal and aligned with him, but will just often be a worse candidate. For instance, like that guy who beat Massey, the CIA looking dude, like I don't think that guy is necessarily like a bad candidate, and he was picked by Donald Trump or whatever. Like, and I think that like he will have just as easy of a time winning in the general as Massey would have or whatever. I can't remember if that was even a primary or if that was just like for the actual seat, but you know what I'm saying though. I don't think that I just don't think that it's like a if Trump picks it, then it's automatically bad. I just think he tends to pick bad candidates.
He's right about this. My party, Democrats, haven't won anything in Texas in 32 years. They haven't won a Senate seat in 38 years. They haven't won a governorship in 36 years. They haven't carried a presidential candidate in Texas for 50 years. And we're sitting here saying that Texas is up for grabs, in part because the Democrats nominated a very strong candidate, James Talarico, who in the polling right now is 11 points above water. His popularity is very high. Mr. Trump, beloved by Republicans in Texas, the bloom is off the rose on that. He's underwater, even in my beloved Texas. Underwater, more unpopular than he is popular in the polling. So this is the problem that Republicans are going to have now in a state that all they had to do was fog a mirror and they won Texas. And now they're going to have to fight like hell and spend hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, I mean, Ken Paxton is someone who has been MAGA aligned. He is someone who, way before Trump, was suing the Obama administration many times. He actually, I mean, yes, he's been indicted and then had the charges dropped. He was impeached and acquitted. He's never lost an election that he's run, I don't believe, during his political career.
But he's also not an establishment type of candidate. What's interesting here is that John Cornyn knows how to fundraise.
That's another thing. People are still looking for anti-establishment candidates generally. So Ken Paxton, for that reason alone, might get more independent / like liberal leaning conservatives on board, like just for that reason, like that he's not the incumbent. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's a little bit like of a mixed bag when it comes to that.
He knows how to do the things that an establishment Texan would do. Ken Paxton was not able to raise in this race, and he does not have.
And when it comes to Republicans, none of them are actually anti-establishment. They are just, they don the aesthetic of anti-establishment, and I think that Ken Paxton probably does that a little bit more than John Cornyn.
A lot of money right now. I have to admit that tonight, while Talarico is not on the ballot, my guess is Talarico will likely raise more money tonight than Ken Paxton will in a red state. And it is interesting because the Republican resources will need to come in heavily in a state like Texas, and those are resources that they're not going to be spending anywhere else. Talarico is well funded. Talarico will continue to raise money, but it's interesting to me that now Republicans have to worry about deep red Texas because they have a flawed candidate who does not know how to raise. And you're now seeing that currently play out.
All these analysis of this race is sort of the differences between what a Cornyn or a Paxton would look like here. I'm thinking about the differences between Talarico and literally every other Texan. Don't know any Texans who believe in 6 genders other than Talarico.
Dude.
Don't know
this dude is such a fucking dork. Dude, who cares? Who cares about 6 genders? Who cares about, I don't know, like fucking... like God is non-binary or whatever the fuck. Like, who gives a shit? That doesn't matter. Like, people are dying on the fucking streets from like homelessness. Like, they can't afford like their medical bills. There's a cost of living crisis across the entire country where people aren't able to, like just can't like live, man. And I think that this stuff is going to become incredibly like a not good message, like not good messaging. If they keep talking about the trans shit over and over again while Talarico is out there like being like, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to lower the cost of your electricity. I'm going to help. I'm going to build some new houses, like housing, so that the prices will come down a little bit and people can have like lower mortgages. I'm going to offer people, I don't know, like free childcare or whatever. Like steal that one from Zoran. I don't care. Like if you're talking about that and they're like, but he said that God has 6 genders. It's like you're gonna look fucking stupid. Like they need to like I mean I just hope that Talarico can get a good message, like economic affordability message out there, and like it's like specific key policy proposals that he wants to implement. He needs to get those out there. I don't know if he already has. I haven't been following him super closely, but he needs to get those out there so that all of this like trans panic bullshit just doesn't stick or whatever. Because the problem with the Kamala Harris campaign was that they did not define themselves, and they did not define themselves, so they let the Republicans define them. And Talarico can't let that happen. He has to go out there and define himself for the people, if he hasn't already, by clear, concise, like things that he will do, like try to do to like help his constituents, like what he will fight for in the Senate that will help people. I guess I was thinking more from a mayor perspective before, because I was thinking of like how Zoran can campaign, but like what he will fight for in the Senate that will help people's like material conditions in their lives. That's what he has to do, because this shit will sound so silly if he does that.
Any Texans who said it's immoral to eat meat other than Talarico. Don't know any Texans who walk around saying things, God is non-binary. You all are both Texans. Do you know any other Texan who even talks like that?
I'm sure there are plenty, by the way. I am also sure that there are plenty. There are plenty of progressive people in Texas. They're just, in the city. Like, they don't live in your fucking, like, suburban sprawl, like, I don't know, places or whatever. They just, they live in, the city. That's probably where a lot of the people that he's talking about live.
At issues aside, who says these things out loud? When this gets adjudicated, all that money coming in from California and New York, it'll be well spent in Texas.
You know what I'm smelling, Scott? Fear.
Yeah.
Panic. Raw stink.
I would agree. I would kind of agree. If that's what your messaging is, well, maybe not fear, like, I don't know. That's just like a messaging campaign, I guess. Maybe it's not fear necessarily, but it is like stupid bullshit messaging, like nonsensical, doesn't matter, who cares messaging. Don't get me wrong, that does work with a lot of people if you don't have a counter message that overpowers their silly bullshit that they're talking about.
You guys are on this. You are on this. He's more popular than Trump in Texas, brother.
Can you explain his position?
He cited a biological study. It's not his position. He cited a study.
So you're for it.
So
you believe in.
You know what I'm not for? I'm not for $6.89 hamburger. Okay, James.
Who cares? Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
He can afford to.
See, this is good. This is good messaging. Being like, I don't give a shit about 6 gender. Talk to me about $6 a pound meat. That's what everybody actually cares about. If you do that, then even a lot of hogs are going to be like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess I do want that meat price to come down. You know, like I think that's a good message.
Texas can't anymore. Now, Ken Paxton can, because on a government salary, he's become a millionaire. How does that happen? He can afford hamburger. This is what it's going to be about. You want it to be about woke. I want it to be about broke.
No, let's see what. I want it to be about. Are you a normal?
You just smell the fear.
Are you a normal person?
It's just
6 genders and no meat.
What I will say is,
terror. They're so afraid.
Scott is melting down, but that is like the Republican Party right now.
You guys have genders is amazing.
You have a
Dude, it's like, but this is what happens though when you do talk about how like stupid and silly this messaging is. These people, they can't deal with it. They don't know how to deal with it. If you actually do just like constantly be like, I don't care about that. Who cares? That's what your answer should always be when they say this stuff. The first 2 words that come out of your mouth should be, who cares? That is stupid. Who cares? Who cares? Like, seriously. And then you just go into your normal spiel about like what you're going to do to try to lower prices or whatever. Like, that's how you got a message around this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on. That's enough Paxton, Cornyn, Talarico talk. I think Talarico has a real chance, but I'm still putting it at about 50-50. I don't know for sure. Okay, let's go to another sort of electoralism thing. I don't know that much about this. This is for, I guess, South Carolina South Carolina has I guess they were doing a redistricting map to try to redistrict to get rid of like the one black district, I think, in South Carolina. And I guess the Republican controlled Congress, or like the Republicans refused to take up the new map. So I'm going to learn about this with you guys. I don't really know exactly why they decided to do that or what, but let's go ahead and watch this.
Carolina's Senate rejected a new congressional map Republicans had hoped would eliminate the state's only Democratic seat held by Clyburn for more than 3 decades. A procedural vote to end debate on the map failed after 12 Republicans joined Democrats to vote against it. The state Senate then moved to adjourn until June 10th, the day after South Carolina's primaries, making it highly unlikely any redistricting effort will take place in time for the midterms. Congressman Clyburn issued a statement yesterday after that vote, commending state senators, writing in part, members of the South Carolina State Senate stood up for the constitutional principles they say they believe in. Joining us now, the host of Politics Now on MS Now, Reverend Al Sharpton. He's president, of course, of the National Action Network. Rev, good morning. It's hard, first of all, to imagine South Carolina politics without James Clyburn, but it's even more difficult to imagine a state like South Carolina not having a majority black district. But now it looks like, thanks to a handful of Republicans jumping over the fence to vote with Democrats, that'll be at least pushed down the road for a while.
Given the population in South Carolina, the percentage of
I would say that it's probably not going to, it's probably going to be redistricted again eventually. We are in like a race to the bottom situation right now where everybody is just redistricting to, in order to get as much political advantage as possible. It sucks. It's like we can't have nice things, apparently. I would much rather have independent district, drawers that are like not party affiliated or party backed in any way. However, that's not the situation we live in. So I do agree with like California and various other blue states, like redistricting the hell out of their states in order to get rid of all the Republican districts. Like, in my opinion, every blue state should just have 1 Republican district and like 30 Democrat districts. Like that's what we got to do until we can finally get this situation under control through legislation, I guess. But our system is so far away now at this point from even being like capable of passing a piece of legislation that is like not just like budgetary or whatever, that we're probably gonna be living in this hellscape for a while.
Of black residents, it would have been unthinkable to wipe out the only black district and the only Democratic district. Aside from the fact Jim Clyburn has earned iconic status there, civil rights leader into Congress for all these years. But I really think the real news was that some Republicans stood up and said, I just can't do this. Reverend Nelson Rivers, who
That is very surprising to me. However, don't give them fucking credit here. I hate when hate when liberals are like, see, there are some good Republicans. Like, I hate that shit so fucking much. You should not give them credit. I mean, you can give them a little bit of credit, but do not glaze them. They will eventually turn on it, probably. Like, they will eventually turn on it. I just think that it's a little bit like I get very frustrated because like liberals in particular, like MS Now sort of liberals or whatever, they love a good Republican defection, like because they think it revalidates because here's the problem. They want to re-empower the Republican Party. That is what they want. They want, as Hillary Clinton famously said, a strong Republican Party, right? That is what a lot of these liberals want. So anytime there is even a remote liberal or like a Republican defection to like normalcy, like no longer being like an insane racist just freak, right? Like just going back to just being like, I don't know, like a standard like, you know, dog whistle racist freak. Like they're like, hell yeah, see, Republicans aren't that bad, right? Because that's what they want. Whereas I, on the other hand, want to decimate and destroy these people. I want them to be like so far away from the realm of power that they I don't know, that they have to like beg. They have to beg for like for even like a tiny scrap of power. That's what I want. That's what I want. And so that's why it just frustrates me a little bit when they do that. But
his National Action Network for us in South Carolina was there every day. And he kept telling me, no, some of these Republicans are going the other way. And I said, really? And it ended up being that way. And I think this might be a story that a lot of us are not looking at. That a lot of people, even in the Deep South, are saying, wait a minute, but so far I'm going to go. I may announce different reasons, but in their heart, they know what's wrong.
Nah. See, that's rewriting it. That's giving too much credit to them. They may have made a good decision this one time. They may have. That's perfectly fine. And you can give them credit for that one good decision if you want. However, do not expect this to continue. Do not expect the Republicans to get better. And do not stop trying to take away all of their power constantly. That would be my recommendation. That's how you should handle it.
Well, I mean, and let's look. There were people in Indiana that voted the way they voted, Republicans against redistricting, and 5, 6 of them lost. So this actually was a profile in courage, making sure they didn't kick out a civil rights icon, a civil rights hero, just an extraordinary man, extraordinary leader, James Clyburn. That was again, we need to stop when that happens, like we did in 2020 when there were Republican election officials up in Michigan and in Georgia that actually stopped and said, wait a second, we're not going to follow you down this trail to destruction.
And when people...
Guess what, though? Guess what? Those people are going to be gone. They're probably going to be gone next cycle, though, because Trump will have them kicked out. I think that's what we need to also recognize is that if there are any good Republicans, or that's kind of anathema. Like, it's not really possible, I guess. But if there are Republicans who occasionally do a good thing, they will get kicked out. They will get kicked out of the party eventually. So that's the other thing.
People do stand up and do the right thing on the Republican side. We need to stand up and loudly say they did the right thing. The history of the civil rights movement was all...
You can say they did the right thing, and you can I don't care if you give them a little bit of credit, but the reason that I get so frustrated is, like I said before, is that Morning Joe and or Joe Scarborough and all of these people, they just want to re-empower Republicans. That's what they want. They want Republicans to stop being so crazy so that we can get back to having a normal, strong Republican Party, without realizing that this current iteration of the Republican Party is the natural conclusion of the Republican Party's politics over the past 60 years. They were always heading in this direction. It was easily foreseeable. And so it's really the way that they talk about it that makes me the most frustrated. They want to get down on their knees and fucking suck off any Republican who is slightly less crazy, and it just really annoys me.
Always reconciliation, and we had a small example of that yesterday. Some of them may have done it because They feel that their districts would have been impacted. But whatever the reason, they came to a conclusion that we benefit from, and we should.
Well, that was honestly, I think that's probably more likely the actual reason. It was selfish. It's probably selfish. It's probably selfishness, if I had to guess. And like I said, they might be gone next cycle because like Donald Trump will have them, primaried or whatever.
To be just as open and vocal about saying that's the right thing as we are the wrong, because the stories could have been, oh, here's another reinforcement of the old South again.
Right.
And yesterday, the opposite happened in South Carolina.
Well, and let's move to Alabama, where a federal court has blocked Alabama from using its newly drawn congressional map in this year's midterms. A 3-judge panel, which included 2 judges appointed by President Trump, determined the redrawn districts intentionally discriminate against black voters. Alabama's Attorney General immediately appealed.
Yeah, this is how it's going to go, though. They're just going to get it up to the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court, give them whatever they want. Like that's how it's going to go. Also, the sad part as well. I mean, I don't want to get people too doomer though, but I mean, if Democrats do redistrict like intentionally to diminish Republican power or whatever, I guarantee you there will be, people funding lawsuits to then challenge that up to the Supreme Court so that the Supreme Court denies that. Like, so it'll essentially, because we're getting to the point where like the Supreme Court just says when Republicans cheat, it's legal. When Democrats cheat, it's illegal. Like that's essentially what the situation we're getting to now. And that's a very unsustainable situation. That is a situation that will have to rectify itself. I mean, hopefully non-violently, but potentially violently in the future. And so, like, I don't know. I don't know. I do get a little doomer that like one of the primary vehicles of like trying to affect change. Because don't get me wrong, I've always known, or not always, but I know that America is a theoretical democracy, that the democratic process does not accurately reflect the will of the people, that it is largely bought and paid for by corporations and all of that stuff. However, it is a point of power, right? It is like one aspect of like influencing power and correcting on the worst impulses of our country, is that at the very least you have the opportunity to like elect a new representative who then will hopefully do something for the people, right? It's not the only vector of power, like a lot of liberals seem to think. There's also organizing power, worker power, like just there are other vehicles of power outside of electoral power, but it is an important one. And I do feel like we're getting to the point now where it's like it's becoming so irrelevant that people are going to be much more likely to start taking like acts of vigilantism or like doing things like that in the future to try to affect change, because they see that as the only option. And so, yeah, it's a little disappointing. We'll see what happens, though, with this appeal. But I'm guessing it'll make it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will say it's fine for Alabama.
Appealed the ruling, setting the stage for the Supreme Court to determine whether the maps can be used in November.
So Jeffrey, this has kind of been the rhythm of these things. The redistricting happens, the map gets changed, and then it's challenged in court. Or in the case of South Carolina, it goes to the assembly at the State House. And by and large, there's been big pushback, legal pushback, not surprising. We'll see what the Supreme Court says. But again, it may be longer than the Democrats may be okay for in terms of getting redistricted in many of these places, for the midterms at least.
I think the Republicans, certain Republicans, were hoping for, magic bullet solutions from legislatures, from the Supreme Court. I think it's going to be ambiguous, more ambiguous, which obviously is to the benefit of democracy in November. But the long-term trends are continued agitation to redistrict in a way that is so ostentatiously geared against Democrats, majority black districts, for instance, that the trend lines are negative, but it's become much more of an ambiguous process, especially in the short term.
And the Supreme Court's last ruling, it's been a race, Rev, across the South to redistrict.
there's only so much minority rule that is tolerable, though, like by society at large. Like, you can only get such like a small amount of representation, like, before people, you know, just fucking rise up in arms. Like, so that's, I guess, my hopeful side is that if they do make it impossible for people to actually make changes electorally, or if they do make it impossible for people to make changes by organizing or by you know, going on national strikes or whatever, if they try to crack down with like police repression or whatever, like there is only so much that is possible to do before people just take up arms against their government, and, you know, it's a new revolution or whatever. So I guess that's my you know, whether you see that as a ray of hope or not, it's, you know, obviously there's a lot of political strife that comes from that sort of situation, but I do want people to understand that it's like there are, you know, there is like there are limits to what people are willing to accept, and so we'll see how things go. I'm going to go ahead and move on, though. We're going to move on to this story about the Newark Detention Center. Speaking of political repression and the likely vehicles by which, or the likely organizations that are going to in the future be in charge of trying to target and beat the shit out of dissidents. We got a story about ICE people. This is from New York Post. So I don't know if this has any commentary or if this is just footage of it. But we're going to watch this footage, I guess, of ICE. I think that there's been a lot of protests outside of this ICE detention center, aka concentration camp. And so I guess we're just going to watch it and, you know, see what we think. Let me actually see if I can find something that's more like coverage of it. Well, actually, let me start it. We'll see if there's any actual voiceover or anything. Yeah, no, this is just footage. I want to get at least some sort of like voiceover for it. Newark ICE Detention Center. Okay, this one might be better.
All right, you're watching live now from Fox.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and watch it here. We'll get some coverage of it, and then we can maybe analyze their coverage as well. Yeah, I want to see what's going on here.
Christy Matino. Our next story taking us out right now to New York. Actually, to New Jersey. More clashes this morning at an ICE detention center in Newark. Protesters and ICE agents once again squared off at Delancey Hall. Jessica Formosa with our Fox 5 New York team is there right now. Good morning to you, Jessica. What are you seeing out there this morning?
Good morning. So things are getting tense as we speak. I'm going to just step out of the way so you guys can take a live look.
Look at all these masked fucking ghouls, too. We pay their fucking salaries. We pay their salaries. These fucking goobers, these losers with their fucking masks on. They need to take those fucking masks off. They are our servants. They are our, like, we pay their fucking salaries. They should not be allowed to wear masks. That's fucking ridiculous.
Look here, as you see these federal agents and protesters at this hour, more protesters than an hour ago. The ICE agents here and the protesters just really got into a scuffle just seconds ago. The ICE agents yelling at these protesters, telling them to back up. Now, what led to this, I have to say, is that the protesters have a microphone that they've been really up close to those ICE agents chanting, and at one point they got way too close, and that's when the ICE
Who cares? Who cares? Like I said, we pay their fucking salaries. We should be able to do whatever the fuck we want to them. If we want to go up and yell in their fucking faces, we should be allowed to go up and yell in their fucking faces. If we want to go up, I mean, I'm not saying that maybe we don't have the right to go up and beat the shit out of them, I guess, I'll just say we don't, but you know, but like, but we should be able to go up there and like, I don't know, give them bunny ears, or we should be allowed to go up and like embarrass them, or like point out how fat they are, or how much of fucking losers they are. Like that is our right as Americans who are paying these losers fucking salaries.
Agents started saying, back up, back up, back up, and there was a scuffle here. Things really also got tense at around 6:30 in the morning when this armored vehicle and these ICE agents showed up here. So what happened, just to paint the picture here, was that they showed up, they were trying to get into this driveway, but it was blocked by the
Do you see this shit? Do you see this fucking army military gear that they're using on our soil, on American soil, to occupy our fucking cities and to kidnap and brown bag, like, or black bag fucking like Mexicans and stuff? Like this is insane. This is like Afghanistan shit. You know, they use this exact same vehicle against like the people of Afghanistan and Iraq. Like these were the military vehicles that they used in order to try to suppress those populations. Oh, look. Oh, wow. Here they are back at home. What a surprise. Used against our own population. Great.
Protesters who put out some orange barricades and also took some cement blockers and put them in front of those barricades, so it was hard for anyone to enter or exit the facility. So that is when these ICE agents and staff members here took all of that away and dumped it into a dumpster. But since then, as I said, things were tense but controlled until really now that we came on the air, and that is when we saw a scuffle here between these ICE agents and the protesters as you're looking live. Now, I want to take you back to how we got here, what's happening. So
I want to be absolutely clear. There are way more of us than there are of them. Okay. They will, you know, if you chase them out of town, like that, because trust me, this isn't over. This isn't over. They're going to use ICE as a form of political repression in the future. They're going to be targeting, they're going to start with like, you know, leftists or socialists or communists or whatever, but eventually they'll just target liberals or anybody who is just vaguely, they'll target independents, anybody who is vaguely against the administration. These are going to be the people who are out there doing it. You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared and be organized with a large group of people to chase these motherfuckers out of your town, like they did in where was it, Minneapolis, or like wherever that was. Like you need to be prepared. You need to be organized. It's not going to stop unless you force them to stop. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's see this scuffle, or like, let's hear what they're talking about. I don't know what the exact reason that this particular one was being protested. It just existing, in my opinion, is a perfectly valid reason for people to protest. But yeah.
It started on Friday, and we know that there are migrants being held at this privately owned detention center. They've been on a days-long hunger strike that started on Friday. They are doing this hunger hike because they claim the conditions inside are inhumane. ICE agents and protesters have been clashing, and yesterday, protesters blocked the entrance to Delaney Hall, linking arms, forming a human chain, and even sitting on the ground, not letting anyone get by. Now, it was around 5 p.m. when agents fired pepper balls at protesters who were trying to prevent an ICE vehicle from transporting a detainee to another facility. Now, Senator Andy Kim, who was out here, did have trouble breathing from the cloud of pepper spray that was deployed. He, along with Democratic Representative Robert.
By the way, good for them. I mean, Democrats often don't, I think, put their body on the line enough for this sort of shit, or like for going to actual protests, man, like real protests, and getting the shit kicked out of you by the police, which is always what happens at every protest. But like I don't think that Democrats do that shit enough. I really wish that they would. I really wish that they would like just be brave and like, you know, take the, like, unfortunately it's just the way our police and ICE behave, is that if you decide to protest against power, they will beat the shit out of you. But I do wish that our leaders would, you know, be on the front lines for that shit, especially if you're like considered one of our elites in society. I think they're usually a little bit more hesitant to like, you know, beat the shit out of you.
Menendez and Governor Mikey Sherrill speaking with relatives of the detainees. They are demanding that this facility be shut down over complaints of inhumane conditions, including the poor quality food and the lack of medical care. The governor did try to get inside to see for herself, but she was denied entry. Now, the governor was heckled by some of these protesters.
Also, make sure, start bringing these types of masks too. You're going to need them.
As to why she didn't come sooner, take a listen.
You showed up 4 days after. People have been asking for you. They started their strike on Friday, and the first thing they said is, we want to talk to Governor Cheryl. And it took you 4 days to be here. 4 days. Why did it take you so long? People are starving in there. You're out there promoting the world.
Well, I gave them a little bit of credit, but apparently the protesters aren't as nice as technically Clay here.
I'm going to these bars taking
Which I get, though. I get. I mean, when you're out there, when you're in this environment, it's very hard not to get very heated.
shots. What about these people here?
Continue to advocate to come. I heard just desperation from so many of the people in there. I mean, there was several 18-year-old young women who are high school seniors that were telling us that they just want to be able to get an education, and they're missing their graduation because of this. I mean, these are people that are not harming our community.
Now, we did reach out to DHS for a statement. They're telling us that what happened here yesterday, saying, quote, no individuals were directly struck by pepper balls, projectiles, riders, obstructed law enforcement from exiting the ICE facility. Officers issued.
Who cares? Who cares? Our ICE facility, our taxes is our taxes. We can do whatever the fuck we want with it.
Multiple lawful verbal commands for riders to clear.
Actually, they might have said this was a private one or whatever, but I mean, that on its own should be fucking illegal. But still, the ICE officials themselves, we pay their salary. They are our bitches. Okay, people? They're our bitches.
Area. They've refused to follow law enforcement commands and continue to obstruct the exit route. Our law enforcement followed their training and used the minimum amount of force necessary to protect themselves, the public, and federal property. Now, as you come back here live, you see here that tense standoff between the federal agents and protesters here. As I was saying, and I keep saying.
Okay, I think that's enough of that. It's getting me too heated. I'm getting too heated, people. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. I think we got Biden. Biden is next.
Private interview.
So I guess apparently, guys, I got news for you. Biden. I might have muted it. Okay, it's back. Biden is apparently not dead. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I thought cancer, that butt cancer, I thought it got him, but he's still alive and kicking. So he's apparently launching a lawsuit into the DOJ to block the release of audio recordings tied to special counsel probe. I don't know exactly what special counsel probe they're talking about. So let's go ahead and watch this. Let's try to come up to speed. This should be a relatively short story. It's only 2.5 minutes, but I'm curious about this one. So and maybe we'll get a rare Biden trying to speak video clip, which we don't get too often anymore.
Private interview tapes between Joe Biden and the ghostwriter of his memoir are now part of a major lawsuit. Former President Biden suing the Department of Justice in an attempt to block the release of transcripts and audio recordings from nearly a decade ago. The files include discussions between Biden and the person hired to write his 20.
Oh, okay. So I thought this would be a little bit more. Okay. So this is between Biden and his ghostwriter from, I guess, 10 years ago, they said. Now, I don't know how mushy Biden's brain was back in 2016. I don't know. He might have been it might have been pretty mushy still back then. So maybe he's like worried about the embarrassment or something, or maybe just like during the while he was like trying to relay information about his experiences, maybe there's just embarrassing shit that he talked about. I'm not quite sure exactly what the reasoning is here.
17 memoir, Promise Me Dad, and are tied to a separate lawsuit alleging Biden improperly handled classified documents when he was vice president, which he denies. Our Christiane Cordero has the details from Washington.
President Biden is suing the Department of Justice, demanding certain recordings and transcripts from a conversation he had with his ghostwriter stay private. His attorneys argue they have just 2.5 weeks until the DOJ releases those files to some members of Congress and conservative group the Heritage Foundation. The audio
I will say this. I am pro-leak. I want to know all of the stuff that was said to his ghostwriter personally. I am always pro-leak under all circumstances. I want to know this information. I mean, I get it. Is political persecution or whatever. That's not good. However, I do want to know all of this stuff, and the more honest way to go about this is that the ghostwriter should just like leak it him fucking self. Like that's what I would say. That's what I would prefer. But if they're going to leak it, I'm sure we'll get some juicy information out of that.
Files are from interviews conducted in 2016 and
or at least I hope we will.
2017 between Biden and his ghostwriter on his memoir. The former president's attorneys argue the conversations happened within his own home and that because they were obtained through a criminal investigation, the DOJ has a responsibility to keep them private. The DOJ obtained them as part of a special counsel's probe into whether Biden mishandled classified documents after his time as vice president. That probe ended in February 2024 while he was president. It found Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials and questioned his mental acuity, but recommended no criminal charges. A month later, the special counsel testified.
I had to consider the president's memory and overall mental state and how a jury likely would perceive his memory and mental state in a criminal trial.
Soon after, Biden invoked executive privilege to prevent those files from becoming public, drawing criticism from some Republicans.
President Biden is apparently afraid for the citizens of this country and everyone to hear those tapes.
President Trump, who has also sued the courts to try and block certain records.
I forgot how hilarious that was. That he was... The judge was, or the prosecutor was literally like, I can't charge him. He's too fucking old. His brain is dead. Like he would come across as a geriatric old man who didn't know what the fuck he was doing. That was great. That was a great time.
From becoming public, today criticized Biden on social media, calling him, quote, a crooked politician.
That's pretty low bar, or that's pretty low T, low energy, low Trump. If you ask me, that insult is not too great.
The Heritage Foundation previously requested the files through the Freedom of Information Act. Biden's attorneys are...
Oh, well, okay. If they went through the FOIA like request or whatever, I mean, come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. I don't really care then. I believe in the FOIA. I believe that we should know everything from our government. So I guess he's arguing that this is a personal conversation that he had with his ghostwriter, and that it shouldn't be subject to FOIA requests, maybe, is kind of probably the argument he's saying. He's a public figure. He's a public official. He was the fucking president, man. I mean, we should know, like, I believe the American people should know, like, every detail of the president. I think that we should know when he wipes his ass every day and how many times. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that we should know all of that stuff. So I mean, yeah, I hate the Heritage Foundation, but if they filed a FOIA request and they get this details, then I mean, hey, I'm pro leak, like I said before. And as a pro leak, I took a leak in the middle of this of this story. So that's how pro leak I am. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. I want to read a story. I want to read something. These were the ones that I have up, but I think there was one that I wanted to read more than the others, which was this one. So actually, let me pull this out real quick. Sorry, one sec. You can hold on, people. I believe. I just don't like to open it without knowing that it's not going to ask me to like sign in or something. It looks like we're good. Okay, cool. Or that there's no paywall or anything like that. Okay. So we're going to read this article because this one caught my eye, because this is, okay. The title of this is Microsoft reports are exposing AI's real cost problem. Using the tech is more expensive than paying human employees. So this actually falls in line a little bit with like my thoughts about AI. I think I've talked about it a little bit before on this channel, but I don't personally think that AI, like large language model stuff, is really that big of a leap forward in terms of technology compared to like other historical like leaps in technology like the internet or television or radio. Like I see large language models as like a slightly more, like when it comes to like chatbots and like text based stuff, I see it as like a slight improvement to existing AI algorithms that existed before. Like that's kind of like how I view at least like chat based AI stuff. I think that the photo generation and video generation and maybe uses in like medicine and like data analysis and stuff might have more actual productivity like gains and usefulness. However, I have like I largely believe that it's really not that great of an improvement in technology, like at least not as, definitely not as much as they've been hyping it up to be. And this is one of those examples where I'm like, maybe it might be the case that like AI is just straight up, or like large language models, sort of like AI, is just straight up never going to be as cost effective as human intelligence. Like it just might not be. It might always be cheaper to pay employees. Like it literally may be impossible to create stuff based on this current methodology of large language models to be as competent as like an actual employee. So anyway, let's read this article about it. Let's see about that like concept of using AI to replace humans and whether it's actually cheaper or not. And let's see what's going on here. This is by Jake Angelo. Okay. It says, firms today are pushing employees to use as much AI as possible to squeeze out the technology's productivity gains. But that pressure is leading to cracks, and those cracks may be irreparable. This also goes into another thing that I've thought as well, is that they use AI as an excuse to just fire people. But then instead of AI actually producing productivity that is like worth the amount of like a new employee, what they're really doing is just like giving all of their other employees a lot more work. And then like just like essentially just not paying people as much for the work that they're contributing. So like there's that aspect as well. But okay, sorry, let's get into the actual story. Microsoft has reportedly begun canceling most of its direct Claude Code licenses, according to The Verge, instead moving engineers toward using GitHub Copilot CLI. Copilot, I think, is owned by Microsoft. Same with GitHub. Command line interface is what that stands for. If you need any indicator that I am a coder, I know how to code. That there you go, people. That comes just 6 months after the firm first opened up access to Claude Code, encouraging thousands of its developers, project managers, designers, and other employees to experiment with coding. The tech became popular fast, perhaps too popular. The scale at which employees use it now is prompting the firm to reverse course on a tool its own engineers had come to rely on. Canceling Claude Code licenses won't affect Microsoft's Foundry deal, which includes investing up to $5 billion in Anthropic and giving Foundry customers access to cloud models, as well as Anthropic's $30 billion commitment to purchase Azure compute capacity, according to The Verge. They were giving this shit to non-coders? Is that what they were doing? And yeah, project managers, designers, and other employees to experiment with coding. Why? Why would you buy that many licenses for people who aren't actually doing coding? That seems like just a waste of money. They by the way, at my company, they don't give away like WebStorm licenses to anybody who fucking wants them. Like your job has to be coding if you want to, like if you want to be using like WebStorm or whatever IDE like you want to use. So that seems like a silly mistake right off the bat. Microsoft isn't the only company scaling back its internal AI usage. Uber CTO Praveen Nepali Naga told The Information in April that the firm had already burned through its entire 2026 AI coding tools budget in just 4 months. That comes after the company had actively incentivized adoption through internal leaderboards, ranking teams by AI tool usage. That's a stupid way to try to get... Like you should, like if you want people to try it out, you should tell people to try it out. And maybe you can give people a little... like some sort of incentive, but I don't think it's a good idea to just be like, whoever uses it the most, you know, this like environment destroying, water guzzling, energy guzzling technology, whoever uses it the most like gets a pizza party or whatever. I don't think that's a good idea. You should use it if it helps you and not use it if it doesn't. The reports may throw cold water on the bets tech's biggest firms have placed on the technology. While some cling to the promise of an AI renaissance or revolution, the cost of adoption is proving a stubborn bottleneck. These developments also suggest that the economics of replacing or augmenting human labor with AI may be more complicated than some early forecasts originally implied. Wow, who's surprised out there? Are you surprised out there? If you listen to my broadcast regularly, you would say, no, you're not surprised, because obviously they're doing a lot of hype. This is how tech enterprises work, is they hype up, they hype the shit out of this stuff in order to make stock market number go up. It's always disconnected from reality, and like for tech companies, whether these things are going to be actually successful or not is very often disconnected from reality, and it is very hype driven. So you should always take those statements that they're saying like with a grain of salt. That echoes what Brian Catanzaro, vice president of applied deep learning at NVIDIA, recently said in an interview with Axios. Oh, I also wanted to talk about, do you remember that Sora app? That Sora app is it was instantly killed. Like they killed it because it was ungodly expensive to run. Each stupid little video of I don't know, goofy sucking off or going down on Minnie Mouse or something. Every silly video that they made in that app cost multiple dollars to create, in terms of how much energy they were using and stuff. And there was no actual model for making money off of it. Oh my gosh. Siri, shut up. God. Speaking of AI technology annoying the shit out of you. She's listening, man. Okay. For my team, the cost of compute is far beyond the cost of the employees, he said. Anthropic didn't immediately respond to Fortune's request for comment. Microsoft didn't provide a comment. An emerging AI paradox: cheaper tokens, bigger bills. Uber and Microsoft aren't the only firms pushing employees to use as much AI as possible. Like at Uber, a Meta employee crafted a leaderboard fittingly named Claudenomics after Anthropic's AI model to track which workers are using the most AI. Amazon is pushing its employees to token max. God damn it. Fucking cringe. Or use as many AI tokens as possible, the basic building blocks of AI compute. But with a token-based pricing system, the work gets more expensive with more use and better efficiency. Goldman Sachs recently forecasted that agentic AI could drive a 24-fold increase in token consumption. Wait, what? That agentic AI, isn't that just what they call oh, okay. I'm assuming they mean agents. Is that what they're talking about? I thought heard that regarding general, I forget what it's called. When AI reaches human level competence or whatever, but okay, whatever. Goldman Sachs recently forecasted that agentic AI could drive a 24-fold increase in token consumption by 2030 as consumers and enterprises adopt AI agents, reaching a staggering 120 quadrillion tokens per month. As businesses turn to AI agents to boost productivity, aggregate costs could rise sharply even if the price of each token falls. But as consumption increases, the cost of individual AI tokens is expected to fall sharply. Okay. So they're saying as consumption increases, the cost is expected to fall. A recent report from research firm Gartner found that by 2030, inference on a 1 trillion parameter LLM, in simple terms, a highly sophisticated AI model, will cost AI firms nearly 90% less than it did in 2025. why? Maybe I don't understand how AI works. Like this scaling up of it, I don't know if that actually causes it to cost less. I'm going to be honest. I don't really understand that aspect of it, but I'll take their word for it. Sure. Even so, Gardner predicted that cheaper tokens won't translate to cheaper enterprise AI because agentic models require far more tokens per task than standard models. Increased consumption can outpace falling unit costs, and AI providers won't fully pass through lower costs to consumers. In turn, inference costs are likely to push higher. I mean, that's just what I would expect. I would expect that the more sophisticated it is, I would expect there to be an exponential cost to this. Like if you want to keep getting it more and more accurate, then you have to exponentially increase the amount of energy and compute that's needed. And then it becomes just unsustainable if you want something that is even closely capable to a human being. And I don't even think they have that capability yet, to be completely frank. Chief product officers should not confuse the deflation of commodity tokens with the democratization of frontier reasoning. Gardner Senior Director Analyst Will Sommer warned in a statement. That reality may complicate the grand plans some firms have for deploying AI agents. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang recently said he thinks 100 AI agents will one day work alongside every employee at his company. Oh my God, dude. That sounds awful. There would be no way to get me to quit my job faster than saying I have to work with 100 fucking AIs that are constantly bothering me with all of their nonsense shit they've been up to all day. Like seriously, just kill me now. Okay. Huang is part of a broader wave of CEOs touting an agentic future in which digital workers operate across the enterprise, but token consumption rises faster than unit costs fall. That future could come with a much heavier bill than executives expect. Yeah, it'll probably be. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't think that these agents or whatever are really that capable of actually adding productive value to a company. I haven't seen any indications that these agents are in any way actually helping people increase their productivity. Like I said, I think most of this stuff is just other people, you're just using it as an excuse to fire people, and then other people just take on that work. I think there's very little actual productivity gains being had with AI so far. So we'll see one day, maybe it will. I also don't think that LLMs are going to be the final state of AI either. I mean, maybe I'll be proven wrong on that, but I think that you need a more complex, I think you need more complexity in the system than a LLM can do, because an LLM is fundamentally just a regurgitation machine. It is regurgitating what it has learned from, right? What it has what it is predicting the next word in a sentence, or is predicting its next action based on a bunch of stuff that is put into it. But it can't I feel like it can't really learn a new task. So far it's had a hard time understanding things like security, not deleting databases and stuff, things like that. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be in the future an actual AI that is more close to how a human brain functions, as opposed to a computer that is just predicting the next text or the next pixel or whatever, right? So, but whatever. I don't know. What do I know? I barely actually use any AI stuff, so I sometimes use the Google AI when I'm looking shit up because I want a quick answer, but that's about it. So there you go, people. AI is coming for your job, and the companies, they are willing to pay way more. they are so much more willing to pay more money for a worse than an actual employee that they could pay for. They could pay for an employee and spend less money, but they're not going to do that because they want to have they want to have a machine that doesn't ask for, I don't know, like pay raises or like for their boss to stop sexually harassing them or whatever. So that's the future that they want, and it's your patriotic duty to accept that position. So there you go. Okay, let's move on to x.com. We're going to hang out over here for a little bit, and then I'm going to get out of here. Okay, what do we got? It's Dan Walder. Who's this? Tampa Dan. It's a huge problem for the Democratic Party that you take one look at the men they run for elected office and just know that they couldn't name a single obscure wide receiver from the early 2000s. I don't know what that means. What's that mean? Why is that relevant? Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm not a sports guy, so I don't know what that means. I need a name for this cat. Okay, I got one for you. You all can see this, right? Okay. I got one for you. Lil Hitler. How about that? Okay, I submitted my request. Okay, what else we got? Dear God, I know it's always a problem. Anytime you see an anime girl in the fucking profile picture, you know there's a problem. Okay. Yeah. They just say because it didn't happen. I mean, we there's plenty of evidence that this happened. So, you can read it. I'm not going to read it for the algorithm, but yeah. God, I feel like, man, okay, I'm just going to say it. I think that Elon Musk turned on like reactionary Twitter recently where like I was getting more like I was getting like less of this like pro-Israel, like insane propaganda shit before. And I feel like they turned up the Israel lever or whatever, and whatever like thing they have in the back that like boosts the amount of Israeli propaganda that's spewed out on Twitter. It's been really annoying. If Bill Gates was sinking in quicksand, what would you throw him? What would I throw him? I would throw him. I can't think of anything. I was trying to think of an Epstein joke. I was like, I would throw him a like 12-year-old Russian girl, but then I was like, but then they would just both die. Like, I can't do that. Okay. Wait, Big Time Rush? I don't know. That's a band, right? I don't listen to that band, so I don't know who that is really. Apparently Big Time Rush, James Maslow was apparently at the anti-Zoran rally, which was like, you know, probably about as unhinged as you thought. You can see what's up? Well, actually, let's just watch the video. Let's watch this short video.
You stand with us.
Oh.
What's up, New York City?
I don't think you see that right there. I love talking about this because it's so funny. There's the Israeli flag morphing into the American flag, like slowly but surely that they are going to just like consume it. It's going to eventually, the entire American flag is just going to be consumed by the Israeli flag, and we will be officially the United States of Israel. One day, people, it's going to happen. And apparently Big Time Rush is a big time fan of it. Okay, what do we got? God damn it, dude. So much reactionary bullshit. Okay, let's watch this one. The Israel First crowd in Congress has spiraled completely out of control. This is a Democrat congresswoman, former chair of the DNC, ripping Trump for trying to end the war. Okay, this is from CNN.
Okay. I am concerned and frustrated over, again, another potential deal, a negotiation for a negotiation.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I know that name. I don't really know a whole lot about her. It sounds familiar. I'm sure that if somebody jogged my memory about stuff she's done, I'd remember, but I can't remember that much about her.
We're going to unfreeze Iranian assets and give them billions of dollars to be able to control proxies again and to rebuild their ballistic missile program, never mind their drone program, which is incredibly deadly, and they've been increasing their drone capability. So this is deeply concerning. And look, I'm glad that Iran, their capability militarily has been degraded, but if what we get
fantasy world, dude, they live in a fantasy world.
from this initial deal is just going back to where we were before, where Iran did not control the Strait of Hormuz, then what has been accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, a whole lot of nothing has been accomplished. And nothing that you do is going to change that fact. This was always going to be what happens if you decide to go into this war. So I guess they're like trying to get they're probably whispering in the president's ear as well, trying to get him to, stay out of the war, or like go back into the war, or like go back to bombing. I don't know. Why do I keep seeing this kind of bullshit too, where they're trying to get me to like engagement farm or whatever, and I don't know. I get baited, I guess, with that cat earlier, so maybe that's why they're throwing that shit in front of me. What the fuck is okay? There's no place like the United States of America worth protecting. See, that's better than at least the shit post that the White House account usually does. So, sure. I'm getting a lot of text right now. Okay. Okay. American soldiers have fought and bled for our freedom of speech. It is the bedrock of who we are. I promise you right now, we will never allow fake divisions to tear us apart. And we'll never allow the government to take freedom of speech away from any of us. I can't listen to that. Sorry, girl. But I appreciate the symbolism here. Are you just going to sit there while all that smoke goes in your face? I feel like she's not moving at all. Are we sure that this is real? Oh, no, this is in the foreground, isn't it? This must be in the foreground. It looks like the smoke is just going like right in her fucking face. But yeah, I think this is in the foreground. She's in the background. But she is like oddly like still and not moving, which is interesting. Junior says, why are Christians so hateful towards Islam? Yeah, that's a good question. I can give you a long answer, I guess, or a short answer, maybe. I mean, the short answer is Islam just happens to be the religion of the resource-rich region of the Middle East. And so, in terms of like colonialism, like historically was the reason for going after them. Like back before, the Industrial Revolution and oil and stuff, there was, people just wanted that territory just to expand, right? Like with the Crusades and stuff. But in the modern era, it's because the Middle East has such an important geopolitical, like strategic significance for empire. And so that's why Christians, generally speaking, are propagandized so much against Islam. Okay, what's this? Let's see. There are a lot of moderate Democrats like myself who will not cry tears should we lose Maine. Oh my God, dude. Let's listen to it and then I'll read Ryan Grimm's response.
No, absolutely. I mean, the Maine race really demonstrates the civil war that's happening within the Democratic Party. And there are a lot of Democrats, moderate Democrats like myself, who will not cry tears should we lose Maine. I mean, that would be a pickup to begin with. But
So, okay. I've been saying for a long time that the Democrats are perfectly fine with losing, that they will lose to a fascist if it means that they do not have to embrace any sort of like anti-capitalist, not even anti-capitalist, like anti-billionaire, like pro-working class. Like as long as they don't have to embrace that, they will choose to lose rather than embrace that message to win, because they are fundamentally captured by corporate donors. And so to all of the Democrats out there who are like listening to this, you need to understand this. These people need to be replaced. If we do not replace them, then they will continue to lose to the Republicans. The same way that they lost to the Republicans with Hillary, that they lost to the Republicans with Kamala, that they barely scraped by with Biden. These people will continue to lose, and they will like willingly lose in order to not have to put forward a pro-working class message. Let's see what Ryan has to say about it. The funny thing is that the left actually rarely talks like this. These are complete freaks who don't want a coalition that wins power. They want to lose to Republicans and be the well-paid fake opposition. These Cuomo cronies are embarrassing. Exactly. That's why I said they would rather lose. They would much rather lose if it means they don't have to win, like with a mandate to actually affect change. Oh God. Apparently, breaking, Apple's next AirPods will have cameras built into them, not for photography. The cameras are designed to feed visual information directly to Siri, turning your earbuds into an eyes-on AI assistant that understands what's in front of you. AKA, this is just surveillance, dude. This is just surveillance. I mean, we already know that your AirPods and your phone are listening to you, and you know they know what you're fucking doing, and they're feeding all of your location data into like some database at the FBI to be analyzed by AI to determine your threat level. We all understand that that is the case. This is just like straight up like we are now just like surveilling everybody. It's like that scene from Batman where all of the like Bruce Wayne sees all of the screens on and sees all of the people like how he just has everybody's cell phone or everybody's camera is just fed to his like TV screens, and he's like, this is not okay. And then he ends up using it anyway or whatever. I think it's been a while since I've seen The Dark Knight, but yeah, this is all going to be fed straight to Palantir. I'm sure that Apple has a nice cushy little contract with Palantir to feed all of your visual information from these headphones to them. So Elon Musk says, time to build major base on the moon. Exclamation point. I'll say, send me a postcard. Because it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. What is this? NASA?
Moon base program manager, Carlos, and doing the ship, our new deputy. And meeting the moment, our international partners for standing alongside our Artemis 3 crew announcement, moon base as a service, into our centers to meet the urgent priorities outlined.
Okay, sorry, I got to watch some of this. I'm sorry, people. I'm getting distracted, but I need to know if this is an actual thing. So I'm going to at least watch the beginning of this. Yeah. Oh, wait, here we go.
4 brave explorers ready to ride the most powerful rocket NASA has ever launched. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon.
Robotic missions. Okay. Humans. Okay. I got news for you. I don't think the human portion is ever going to happen, man. I don't think people understand how hard it is to actually keep a supply line to a place like this. Like, humans need stuff, right? You need stuff to survive. At the very least, you need food. There's no way to create food or water on the moon. As far as I'm aware, there's no way to plant stuff. There's no way to actually keeping a supply line going. It's already hard enough to keep a supply line going to the International Space Station, which is in orbit around Earth. Like, which I guess the moon is also in orbit around Earth, but keeping a supply line to the moon, I don't see it happening. Sorry to burst people's bubble. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It would be cool. It would be cool if they actually do this. But it would also require an ungodly amount of money. Considering the amount of political strife that I think we're gonna have when it comes to resources on this planet in the future, I highly doubt that this is gonna actually end up happening. See, I get this is one of those things though that gets me, like, I have like mixed feelings about this, because I do think it would be cool to, have more like people living on various planets in space, or like terraforming Mars or all that sort of shit. But the problem is that we need to figure out this planet first. we need to fix the problems on this planet first. There's not going to be an appetite for this sort of shit if we're living in a technocratic feudalist society with like 3 trillionaires who own 99.999% of the wealth and resources of the planet. I don't think there's going to be a lot of appetite from the masses to be engaging in stuff like this. So I think I honestly think that we have to graduate beyond capitalism. Like, as a species, we have to graduate beyond capitalism before we can actually get to like a place where we're, accumulating the resources to then do these types of projects, just because these are just like scientific endeavors that like are never going to be like profitable, right? Like, this is never going to be a profitable industry to like expand to the moon, right? It's never going to be a profitable industry. It's going to be like insanely expensive, and unless you have buy-in from society to be spending your resources on this, I don't think it's going to be possible. So I don't know. Anyway, that was an interesting little side note. Let's see. More Ashley St. Clair stuff. We can watch this, I guess. The only stuff I know about Ashley St. Clair is what she said on like Hassan. I think Hassan interviewed her. And she I don't know what I think about her, to be honest. See, she's Elon Musk's baby mama, or one of them. She's like, apparently, like, she's I left the right sort of person. So she's like, I guess you could say like maybe she's like grifting to the left, but nobody ever grifts to the left because that's not really a profitable endeavor to do. So I'm inclined to somewhat trust her. However, I don't know if she's earned my trust yet, I guess is what I would say. But anyway, let's watch this Zateo interview with the other Hassan, Mehdi Hassan, as he talks to potential grifter Ashley St. Clair. And we'll see, maybe we can gather some more info.
Said that seeing your old tweets full of hate.
Sorry,
You've said that seeing your old tweets full of hateful, bigoted remarks is a rather horrifying experience today. But many conservatives don't even think of those posts as hate-filled. They genuinely believe those are Christian or godly or morally correct take. So as someone who's been on both sides of this divide, I have to ask, what was your wake-up call? What did you read? What did you see? Who did you talk to that made you think, you know what, I've gotten this all wrong for the last few years?
There were a lot of things. It happened slowly and then all at once. So there were moments that I would have friends who were trans that I was like, oh, wow, you know, these are not actually evil people who want.
Yeah, meeting the cure to transphobia, people, is meeting a trans person. I swear to God, I swear it always happens. If you you could meet like the most reactionary, bigoted person that you know who like hates anything like anything trans or whatever, and if you just like show them a chill trans person who's just like, yo, what's up, how's it going, like, or whatever, like I that will get like, I would say like 90% of people would be like, oh yeah, I guess they are just normal people. Like, it's so pathetic that like that's what it takes. I mean, but I don't care, man. It's the way people are. It's the human condition or whatever, I guess, to be like that. And we're all propagandized to fucking hell by our pedo billionaire overlords. So it's like, you know, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But it is like straight up like that is like, I don't know. I feel like it de-radicalizes people like incredibly quickly the moment they just meet a trans person.
Want to trans all the children. There were moments that I would read certain items, and I'm embarrassed to say, but I had never read a slave narrative until my mid-20s. And there's a reason that they want to keep people away from CRT, from certain language. The information sequestering that they do, you're not allowed to read the mainstream media. All of these things are labeled as propaganda. Don't trust your professors. In fact, you should report them to Charlie Kirk's professor watch list. And then there was a moment where I had to make a decision, which I was offered something rather substantial, to not speak. And once you receive an offer like that, it really...
I think she might be talking about her NDA. I think Elon offered her like an NDA for like $40 million or something insane, which like that's like a pretty big, you know, like if you take that 40 million, you're going to be set for life, right? Like you never have to work again. Like you can just retire and live out your days on a beach somewhere if you want to, right? And the fact that she did say no to that. Now, don't get me wrong, she's still getting like $500,000, I think, a year for child support from Elon Musk, which is like, you know, it's definitely like gonna add up to less than $40 million, I guess, but like it's still a lot of money that she'll probably be fine with. It's a lot more than I fucking make. But it is like one of those things that makes me like lean towards believing that she's like de-radicalized like in a legit manner. I don't know, only time will tell. And I would like to see, you know, I would like to see her maybe like in like a non-media sort of way, like because right now she's like building clout off of this, right? Like she's going on these press tours, she's going on Hassan's show, she's going on this Mehdi Hassan show, and kind of like doing the press circuit. But I would like to see her do some stuff off the radar too, like for instance, show up at a protest or something, or like something that she disagrees with, like, right, like ICE or something. Maybe I don't know what her opinions are nowadays on like most like of the current like political stuff that's happening, or even just like some like standard lib shit, like go to a No Kings rally or something, and not like and like not have it like not do it necessarily for like clout or whatever. I would like to see her do something like that. If she started doing stuff like that, then I think I would be like, okay, she's probably she's probably legit. But right now I'm leaning towards legit, but I don't know. I'm probably like 60-40, you know, that this isn't just some like you know, but like clout goblin, like clout sharking situation or whatever.
Makes you stop and consider the gravity of your words, why your voice is worth so much money, and make a decision on your integrity and if you actually want to have any.
You turned down that offer?
I did.
Was it from Elon Musk?
I'm not at liberty to discuss, but I've turned down enough money that it is the GDP of a small nation.
Wow. Wonder how small a nation. Many who are skeptical of...
I've heard 40 million. Maybe she hasn't said the official number, but I've heard 40 million.
You attribute your shift to being burned by Elon Musk and MAGA. What do you say to your critics on the liberal left who believe your new views are just a convenient way to retaliate against your old friends?
Well, first of all, I'm not making any money from this. I'm back in school. I just finished out my semester with 22 credits, and I plan to go to law school. That's what I want to do. I want to start fighting and making amends within the system that I believe is perpetuating a lot of harm.
Okay, if she goes to law school and if she becomes like a public defender or something, that'd be rad, dude. That'd be rad. And that would earn so much credit for me that I would probably be inclined to believe her if she did that. I don't know what she's going to law school for. I don't know what type of law she's doing. But I don't know.
And secondly, people are putting the chicken before the egg or the horse before the carriage, because when I came out publicly, I knew what the reaction of MAGA was going to be. I was within this cult for almost a decade. I knew exactly how they were going to respond to me, and I was ready to be ostracized. I was ready to be done with MAGA and that cult.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to need some more. I'm going to need to see some non-clout sharky behavior. And if going to law school, if she's going to become a public defender or something, cool. That would be a great example of that. But yeah, I think that I'm leaning towards that she's legit. I'm leaning towards it. That's all. I don't want to say for sure, and we'll see. Only time will tell. But I'm leaning towards her being legit. Anyway, people, I think that's got to be the last one from me. It's not really that fun, but I don't know. We got to discuss Ashley St. Clair, I guess, a little bit. So maybe that'll do good in the algorithm or some shit. Who knows? I don't know if she's doing good in the algorithm or not. Okay. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope you had fun watching this Technically Clay stream. If you're watching the VOD, love you too. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye-bye.